Chapter 3276. Summon, Heavenly Sword Marquis. It's Heavenly Sword Marquis. Why is he here at this time? Heavenly Sword Marquis, we are not interested in the blood wave token in your hand. I hope you won't hinder us. Many experts looked at Jian Wushuang and some even warned him. Haha, I'm just trying to get in your way, so what can you do? Jian Wushuang sneered. He swayed in the crowd and did not attack the surrounding experts. However, those experts who were crazily surrounding and killing Han Xan did not dare to provoke him. Jian Wushuang easily came to the center of the battlefield and came to Han Xin's side. Grab me. Jian Wushuang stretched out his arm. Huh. Han Xan looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. However, since she was in a critical situation, she did not have time to think about it. She immediately grabbed Jian Wushuang's arm and whooshed. Jian Wushuang and Han Xan disappeared into the crowd. When they reappeared, they had already arrived at the entrance of Blood Wave Temple. Time-space teleportation. This move could not only teleport from a long distance but also move at a close distance. Now Jian Wushuang used time-space teleportation and brought Han Xan to the entrance of Blood Wave Temple. Then they immediately rushed into Blood Wave Temple. Seeing Jian Wushuang and Han Xan enter Blood Wave Temple, many experts present were extremely angry. Bastards, they escaped. We had a chance to kill Han Xan and get the Blood Wave token from her because of Heavenly Sword Marquis. Damn Heavenly Sword Marquis, he entered the Blood Wave Temple by himself, but he helped others to enter the Blood Wave Temple? Those experts who did not get the Blood Wave token were cursing Jian Wushuang, but now that it was a foregone conclusion, there was nothing they could do. Around them, Tai Ta, Chen Hongzi, and the others had strange expressions when they saw this scene. Did the Heavenly Sword Marquis stay here to help Han Xan enter the Blood Wave Temple? Tai Ta stroked his chin. It seems so, but when did the Heavenly Sword Marquis become friends with the people of the Supreme Emotion Forgetting Valley? I've never heard of them. Chen Hongzi, Duan Lang, and the others were also puzzled, but they did not think too much about it. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. After Jian Wushuang and Han Xan entered the hall, they came directly to a magnificent hall. After entering the hall, there were no pursuers behind them. Han Xan immediately looked at Jian Wushuang. Heavenly Sword Marquis, why are you helping me? Han Xan asked in puzzlement. She asked herself if it was the first time she met Jian Wushuang, so they did not have any friendship. And she had never heard of the relationship between the Supreme Emotion Forgetting Valley and Jian Wushuang. I helped you because of someone in the valley, Jian Wushuang said. Who? Han Xan asked. Her surname is Lung. She should have entered the valley hundreds of years ago, and her position in the valley should be very special, Jian Wushuang said. His wife, Lung Wushuang, was suitable to cultivate the supreme divine skill of the valley. Even the old valley master of the valley valued her very much. After she entered the valley, her position was certainly extraordinary. After hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Han Xin's expression under the veil changed. Obviously, she knew who the person Jian Wushuang was talking about was. Han Xan, you should know who I'm talking about, right? Jian Wushuang stared at Han Xan. I don't know. Han Xan shook her head directly. In the past 1,000 years, many disciples have entered Supreme Emotion Forgetting Valley. I don't know all of them. As for the person whose surname is Lung, I have never paid attention to him. You don't know. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He could tell that Han Xan was lying at a glance. However, Han Xan clearly did not intend to continue this topic with him. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you have indeed helped me a lot this time. I will remember this favor. I will repay you when I have the chance in the future, Han Xan said. Jian Wushuang looked around and hesitated for a moment. He did not continue asking but looked at the front of the hall. The grand hall was quite simple and crude. There were no exquisite and brilliant decorations. In front of the hall there were 2 passages leading to the inner layer. 2 passages? Jian Wushuang frowned. Someone from the Supreme Emotion Forgetting Valley came to the Blood Wave Palace with the Blood Wave token, but they left a message that there was only 1 passage in the Blood Wave Temple. But now why are there 2 passages? Is it because we entered the Blood Wave Temple at the same time? Han Xan was puzzled. It's possible. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, Han Xan, since there are 2 passages, you and I can choose one to enter. You choose first. They'll take this one. Han Xan did not stand on ceremony and directly chose the passage on the right. Then he'll take this one. Good luck. Jian Wushuang said. His body flashed and he directly rushed toward the left passage. The dark and long passage was bottomless. Jian Wushuang carefully moved forward, but his mind was still full of thoughts. Han Xang clearly knows who I'm talking about, but she insists that she doesn't know. What? Is it because she doesn't want the outside world to know about Shuang, or is it because Shuang has started to cultivate that divine skill and the supreme emotion-forgetting valley wants her to cut off all ties with the outside world? Jian Wushuang frowned. Although he did not get anything out of Han Xin's conversation, Jian Wushuang felt a little uneasy. He felt that he could not delay the matter of Shuang any longer. Once the matter of the Blood Wave realm was settled and he had successfully broken through to the Principal's Master realm, he would immediately set off for the second heaven. If I can really become the Principal's Master, I can at least be treated seriously by the supreme emotion-forgetting valley, Jian Wushuang muttered. But at this moment, a long voice slowly came from the end of the passage. Little guy, come here. Come to me. The voice seemed to contain special magic power. It came from the tunnel in front of him, but it sounded in Jian Wushuang's heart and echoed in his mind again and again. Come here. Come here. The voice sounded again and again, and at the same time, an unprecedented summoning power came. Although Jian Wushuang had been vigilant as the voice sounded again and again, his consciousness gradually sank down. His eyes gradually became listless. At this moment, his consciousness had been completely sealed like a walking corpse. With the guidance of the voice, he moved forward numbly. Chapter 3277. Divine Palace of Life __. After an unknown period of time, Jian Wushuang finally regained consciousness. Once he regained consciousness, he immediately understood his situation. His face suddenly changed and his back was instantly drenched in cold sweat. He was very clear that his previous state was completely at the mercy of others. What's going on? Jian Wushuang immediately looked around and found that he had come to a dark void where there was no light at all, even his vision was blocked. Even so, Jian Wushuang still saw a dark figure not far in front of him. Who are you? Jian Wushuang stared at the dark figure. His intuition told him that his muddle-headed state was likely caused by this dark figure. You are now in Blood Wave Temple, but I can easily bring you here. Who do you think I am? The dark figure said slowly in the dark void. You are the master of the Blood Wave Temple? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Yes, but it's just a consciousness. The dark figure said. Jian Wushuang was not surprised. He could feel that the figure in front of him did not have any life aura. It was indeed a consciousness. Let me introduce myself. My name is Blood Wave and I come from the Life Palace. The dark figure said. Life Palace? Is it a sect or force that specializes in comprehending the principles of life? Jian Wushuang frowned. He had never heard of a force or sect called the Life Palace in the Divine Beginning realm. However, the Blood Wave realm could not even be touched by the three Saint realms and the three Freedom Alliances. It could even block the will of the Heavenly Tao. It was evident that the strength of the Master of the Blood Wave Temple was extraordinary to be able to produce such an expert in the Life Palace. He must be extraordinary. Jian Wushuang, greetings, Elder Blood Wave. Jian Wushuang immediately bowed to show his respect. Jian Wushuang? Aren't you called Heavenly Sword Marquis? Blood Wave asked playfully. Senior, you know my name? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Of course I created the Blood Wave realm. I know what happened here. Of course my consciousness is in a deep sleep all year round. Under normal circumstances, it would not be awakened, let alone pay attention to the things in the Blood Wave realm. But this time I was alarmed because of you. Blood Wave gave Jian Wushuang a deep look. Little guy, it's your perfect life level that has alarmed me. Perfect life level? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed. He was a perfect chaotic creature, which was his biggest secret. Although he had used the heaven-cleaving skill in the Blood Wave realm and revealed the life pressure of a perfect chaotic creature, he had never expected that his display would alarm Blood Wave, who had been sleeping all this time. Moreover, Blood Wave had directly seen that he had a perfect life level. One must know that there was no specific concept of a life level in the Divine Beginning realm. An ordinary life was an ordinary life, and a special life was a special life. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. As for the word perfect, it was named by his master Xianyi. Senior Blood Wave, how do you know the level of a perfect life form and recognize it at a glance? Jian Wushuang asked. It's simple. I've seen a cultivator at the level of a perfect life form, Blood Wave said. You've seen my master? Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He knew that his master was the only one who had a perfect chaotic life form in the Divine Beginning realm. Now that Blood Wave had said that he had met a cultivator with a perfect life level, He subconsciously thought that it was his master, so he blurted it out. Your master? What's his name? Bloodwave asked. His name is Xian Yi, Jian Wushuang answered immediately. Xian Yi? I've never heard of him. Bloodwave shook his head. How is that possible? Have you met other perfect chaotic creatures, Elder Bloodwave? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Haha, little guy, it seems that your horizons are still a little low, but it's normal. After all, you're only a saint. You're not qualified to touch the secrets of this world, let alone the secrets of the entire universe, Bloodwave said with a smile. The universe? Is it the universe battlefield? Jian Wushuang asked. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The universe battlefield? Sort of. Bloodwave continued to smile. Let me put it this way. A cultivator at the level of perfect life, which is a perfect chaotic creature, is very rare. In your current world it is absolutely unique. However, if it is in the vast universe, it may not be the case. At least I have seen other perfect chaotic creatures and there is more than one. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Universe? Universe battlefield? It was said that the universe battlefield was extremely mysterious and had unlimited possibilities. He had always thought that the universe battlefield was just an opportunity, but now it seemed that it was not so. In the vast universe battlefield, there seemed to be other cultivators besides the divine beginning realm, and there were even other perfect chaotic creatures. Senior Bloodwave, is the life palace that you mentioned also a force in the universe battlefield? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes. Bloodwave nodded. The life palace is the most mysterious and terrifying force in the universe. It has a special feature, which is that it is only open to special life forms. In other words, only special life forms born in the universe are qualified to join the life palace. Only special life forms are qualified to join? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. He knew very well how rare and powerful special life forms were. In the divine beginning realm, there were indeed too few special life forms. So far, Jian Wushuang had only met two special life forms. One was the Saint Devil's Son, and the other was someone he had met before, Xiong Tao from the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. These two special life forms had a huge innate advantage. Saint Devil's Son, for example, was only ranked in the top 10 on the True Saint list due to his simple comprehension of the principles. He did not have many unique skills and secret skills, but because of the huge innate advantage of the special life forms, he could even compete with Light King, and that was why he was ranked second on the True Saint list. Jian Wushuang thought it was terrifying to see a force that only special life forms were qualified to join, and all the experts under its command were special life forms. Senior Bloodwave, I'm very curious. How many people are in the Life Palace? Jian Wushuang could not help asking. Many. I don't know exactly how many, but it's definitely beyond your imagination. In addition, I just said that only special life forms are qualified to enter the Life Palace, and am not talking about ordinary initial-level special life forms, Bloodwave said. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 3278. Added, it's not an ordinary initial-level special life form? What do you mean? Are there different levels among the special life forms? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course, there are differences among the special life forms. Just like bloodline groups, there are weaker and lower-level bloodline groups, and there are also extremely powerful bloodline groups standing at the top. Bloodwave smiled faintly. There are several levels of special life forms. First of all, the most common and easier to see in the universe are the initial-level special life forms. Compared to ordinary cultivators, these special life forms have obvious innate advantages, but their potential is actually similar to that of ordinary human cultivators. If you want to reach the peak, you still have to work hard and take risks to have a chance. Most initial-level special life forms are born within the Tao world and are born within the Tao world. However, above the initial level, there are universe-level special life forms. Special life forms at this level may not be stronger than initial-level special life forms, but they have greater potential. This is because universe-level special life forms are born within the vast universe. There is still a huge difference between the two. Above the universe level, there are special life forms in the creation level. Special life forms at this level have huge innate advantages and extremely high talent. Of course, their potential is much higher than the first two special life forms. In the universe, ordinary special life forms in the creation level can reach the level of universe overlords as long as they don't die halfway. Bloodwave was talking slowly. However, Jian Wushuang, who was listening in front of him, was a little stunned. Initial level? Universe level? Creation level? Dao realm? Universe overlord? These words completely exceeded Jian Wushuang's understanding of heaven and earth, making him feel as if he had entered a completely new level. Above the creation level is the final perfect level. Blood Wave spoke again, his expression became solemn. A perfect level life form is an almost extinct existence in the vast universe. It is possible to have one life form after countless chaos cycles. Such a life form not only controls the supreme life level pressure and makes countless life forms submit to it, but most importantly, it has unlimited possibilities. Infinite possibilities? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. He did not know what infinite possibilities Blood Wave was referring to, but for Blood Wave to have such a high evaluation of him, it was clear that the level of a perfect life form was extraordinary. And he was the owner of a perfect life form. A perfect chaotic life form is indeed a special existence that countless experts admire. However, because its life form is too high, it makes it difficult for the heavenly Tao, so there are a lot of restrictions and suppression. I think you must have experienced such suppression. Blood Wave looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Of course, he had experienced the suppression from the heavenly Tao. In Jian Wushuang's opinion, it was not just suppression. The power of the heavenly Tao was clearly trying to kill him at all costs. He had long known that the perfect chaotic creature was repelled by the heavenly Tao's will. In fact, not only perfect level creatures, but also special creatures in the creation universe or even the initial level. They are more or less restricted and suppressed. This is a trade-off between the heavenly Tao's will and the special creatures and ordinary cultivators. And since there is suppression, there will naturally be resistance. Therefore, the Life Palace, which is made up of special life forms, was born. The Life Palace exists to fight against the heavenly will, Blood Wave said. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's heart was in turmoil. Now he finally understood why so many special life forms joined the Life Palace. It turned out that the purpose of the Life Palace was to fight against the heavenly will, to resist the suppression of the heavenly will on the special life forms. The special life forms were not willing to be suppressed by the will of the heavenly Tao, so they would naturally resist. However, they would choose to join the Life Palace because of the influence of one person's strength. Little guy, now you know why I was awakened by you, right? Blood Wave looked at Jian Wushuang again. There are very few perfect life forms in the Life Palace where special life forms gather. Since I can meet one, I won't miss it. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Jian Wushuang, as the Chief Supreme of the Divine Life Palace, am asking you, would you like to join my Divine Palace of Life? The sudden invitation startled Jian Wushuang. His eyes flickered, but then a smile appeared on his face. I'd like to. Of course, Jian Wushuang could not find any reason to refuse. After all, he had been hunted by the will of heaven all year round. Now that he finally found out that there was a Divine Palace of Life, which was formed by many special life forms to resist the pressure of the will of heaven, he naturally wanted to join it. Ah, very good. From today on, you are a member of my Life Palace. Blood Wave smiled, then waved his hand and handed an interspatial ring to Jian Wushuang. There are 3 tokens in this interspatial ring. One is a token for a member of the Life Palace. After you refine it, it will leave a special mark in your body. In the future, if you meet another member of the Life Palace, you can sense it through this mark. Of course, the other party can also sense your identity. The second token is my communication token. You are still in this Tao realm, so you don't need to contact me for the time being. But when you leave the Tao realm and go to the depths of the vast universe, you can use this token to contact me. I will tell you how to go to the Life Palace. As for the last token, it records a unique magic power of the Life Palace. This magic power is named after life. All members of the Life Palace can cultivate this magic power. At this point, Blood Wave paused for a moment. Life Divine Power? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. Elder Blood Wave, what is the use of this divine power? The Life Divine Power was created by the founder of the Life Palace after studying the essence blood of countless special lives for a long time. This secret skill can maximize the potential and innate advantage of special lives. To put it simply, the innate advantages and potential of a special life form, especially universe level and creation level special life forms, are much greater than that of ordinary cultivators. However, most of these innate advantages are only simple and crude. To a large extent, they are reflected in the power of divine power. However, in reality, the innate advantages they use are only 10%. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 3279, Divine Power of Life under 10%. Jian Wushuang was stunned. In the divine beginning realm, the innate advantage of the special life forms was very shocking. It was almost difficult to make up for the innate advantage, but Blood Wave told him that the special life forms had only used 10% of their innate advantage. Don't be surprised. To be called special life forms, each of them is extraordinary, not something ordinary cultivators or some bloodlines can compare with. Without any guidance, it's already good enough to be able to use 10% of their innate advantage. And the life divine ability created by the founder of the Life Palace can let these special life forms use their innate advantage as much as possible. For ordinary special life forms, as long as they cultivate this life divine power, they can at least exert 20 to 30% of their innate advantage. If they cultivate the life divine power to the extreme, they may even exert 60 to 70% of their innate advantage. Bloodwave said. Even if they cultivate it to the extreme, they can only exert 60 to 70% of their innate advantage? Can't they fully exert their innate advantage? Jian Wushuang asked in puzzlement. No. Bloodwave shook his head. Perhaps someone will be able to perfectly utilize the innate advantage of a special life form in the future, but so far no one has been able to do so. The founder of the Divine Life Palace is extremely talented and has spent so much time, yet he has only been able to do so much. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was secretly amazed. By the way, the move you performed when you displayed your perfect life level in the Bloodwave realm seems to be extraordinary. Bloodwave looked at Jian Wushuang. If I'm not wrong, did you integrate your supreme life level pressure into your swordsmanship? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. But I didn't create that move. If it was my master. Your master? He's also a perfect chaos creature? Bloodwave looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Yes, but unfortunately my master has died, Jian Wushuang said. Is that so? That's really a pity, Bloodwave sighed. It's incredible that a perfect chaotic creature who hasn't joined the Life Palace can combine the supreme power of his perfect life with his moves and exploit his innate advantage as much as he can. Judging from your previous sword move, you have already exerted a little more than 10% of your innate advantage. If I'm not wrong, this shouldn't be the limit of that move. Yes, the most powerful divine power that Master created is called Heaven-Cleaving Skill. Although I've been studying it, I'm still too weak. I can only use part of the power of that move. It's still far from the ultimate power of that move. Yes. Jian Wushuang said. That's it. If I'm not wrong, the ultimate power of this move created by your master should allow you to exert 30% of your innate advantage. The key point is that he used an offensive divine power, while the life divine power is a special application method. The two might not conflict, Bloodwave muttered. No conflict. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. In other words, it was possible for him to use the heaven-cleaving skill as well as the life divine power. If he cultivated both the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill to the limit and used the life divine power to exert 60% or even 70% of his innate advantage, and then used the heaven-cleaving skill to exert about 30% of his innate advantage, did that not mean, would it be possible for him to fully exert the innate advantage of his perfect life? Theoretically, it is possible. As for the result, you can only try it after you have mastered the life divine power, Bloodwave said. I will try it now. Jian Wushuang was obviously impatient. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website mynovelful.com. Thanks. Don't worry. Bloodwave waved his hand. You'll have plenty of time to cultivate the life divine power in the future, but you'd better not waste your time now. Don't forget that you're in the Bloodwave Temple now. You came here for the opportunity in the Bloodwave Temple. I used some means to lure you here, but no one else knows about it. But if you waste your time here for a few days, others will surely guess that you have some special encounters in the Bloodwave Temple, and you'll have a lot of trouble later. So you'd better stay with them now. Jian Wushuang was stunned and then he smiled. Indeed, he had enough trouble, and the three Saint Realms had their eyes on him. If people knew that he had a special encounter in the Bloodwave Temple at this time, there would be more people targeting him. It was better to save these unnecessary troubles. I've told you what I should tell you. As a member of the Life Palace, I hope you can grow up as soon as possible. After all, a special life form of the perfect level can grow to a certain level, which is very terrifying. It's also a great battle strength for the Life Palace. Go. Go. Blood Wave waved his hand, and a space passage immediately appeared in the dark void. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Goodbye, senior. Jian Wushuang bowed respectfully to Blood Wave, then he plunged into the space passage and disappeared. The dark void calmed down again. Blood Wave, who was shrouded in darkness, looked at the space passage that Jian Wushuang slowly closed, and his eyes flashed with a strange luster. Someone actually developed the innate advantage of a special life form through an ultimate attack. Even the founder of the Life Palace couldn't do this. What kind of person is Jian Wushuang's master? Shinny, this name seems familiar. Who is he? With doubt, the dark figure gradually quieted down. In the deepest part of the Blood Wave Temple, a huge golden palace door was tightly closed. In the open space in front of the golden palace door, there were a few 8 figures. These 8 people were the first to enter the Blood Wave Temple, including Han Xian, who had just entered the Blood Wave Temple with Jian Wushuang. At this time they came from a passage behind. Jian Wushuang's figure also came over. Ha, brother Heavenly Marquis, you finally came in. Upon seeing Jian Wushuang, Emperor Ming immediately greeted him with a smile. Di Hao also nodded to Jian Wushuang. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you seem to be a little slow. Han Xian glanced at Jian Wushuang. I'm not as anxious as you, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. Han Xin's eyes flickered, but she did not suspect anything. Everyone thought that Jian Wushuang had just entered the Blood Wave Temple normally, but they did not know that he had just gone to the Dark Void and met the master of the Blood Wave Temple. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 3280, Gray Star __ time passed, and soon the last person to enter the Blood Wave Temple arrived. Jian Wushuang and the others thought that the last person to enter the Blood Wave Temple would be Silver Snow King, who had obtained the Blood Wave token. However, when this person came to the open space, everyone was shocked. Silver Wolf. It's you? The Blood Wave token in Silver Snow King's hand fell into your hands? Everyone looked at the last person to arrive. This person was Silver Wolf, one of the 3 Saint Realms, the strongest expert in the Life and Death Saint Realm, and ranked 7th on the True Saint list. Silver Wolf, what about Silver Snow King? Underworld Emperor glanced at Silver Wolf. He's dead. Silver Wolf's face was a bit gloomy. He was a solitary expert. He tried to break into the Blood Wave Hall by himself but was surrounded by many experts. In the end he was killed. As for him, he was still alive. Many experts in the outside world began to fight over the Blood Wave token he left behind. My luck was clearly better. That Blood Wave token fell into my hands. Oh. Underworld Emperor and the others were relieved. Indeed, many experts in the outside world were eyeing the Blood Wave token. Except for Light King and the others who were unrestrained in the beginning, they were also stopped by many experts in the process of entering the Blood Wave Temple. They almost could not enter the Blood Wave Temple. For example, Han Xian, if Jian Wushuang did not help her, her result would not be much better than that of Silver Snow King. Silver Wolf, when the Snow Saint and Han Xian entered the Blood Wave Temple, none of the 3 Saint Realms showed up. But when Han Xian and I entered the Blood Wave Temple, you showed up. Jian Wushuang looked at Silver Wolf coldly, his words were full of mockery. Humph, to fight for the Blood Wave token in front of you is courting death. The 3 Saint Realms are not that stupid. Silver Wolf snorted. The 3 Saint Realms did wait for Jian Wushuang to enter the Blood Wave Temple before fighting for it. If Jian Wushuang was there, they would not dare to fight. After all, Jian Wushuang's previous slaughter had scared them, especially after he killed the 9 Temples Saintes, which made experts like Silver Wolf, Thunder God, and Gu Jinzi, who ranked high on the True Saint list, afraid to appear in front of Jian Wushuang. They did not dare to appear in front of Jian Wushuang. Haha, Silver Wolf, you are indeed smart, but you are in front of me now. Aren't you worried that I will kill you directly here? Jian Wushuang stared at Silver Wolf with a wicked smile. Silver Wolf's heart trembled, but he said seriously, "This is the Blood Wave Temple. How dare you attack me? Do you think the rules of the Blood Wave Temple are just for show?" Blood Wave Temple was a lucky place in the Blood Wave realm, where fighting was forbidden. In the history of the Divine Beginning realm, it was not that no one had attacked in the Blood Wave Temple, but the first person to do so was directly killed by a mysterious force, and no one dared to attack in the Blood Wave Temple anymore. Silver Wolf knew this, so he was fearless at this moment. Hearing Silver Wolf's words, the smile on Jian Wushuang's face grew wider. If you have problems with this website, Please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Others might be afraid of the rules in Bloodwave Temple, but to him the rules were not binding. After all, the master of Bloodwave Temple was definitely on his side. Even if he killed Silver Wolf now, he was sure that Bloodwave would not attack him. But if he really did that, it would expose the extraordinary relationship between him and the master of Bloodwave Temple. Forget it, I'll let him live for a while. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and looked away. Seeing this, Silver Wolf thought that Jian Wushuang did not have the courage to attack him in Bloodwave Temple. He could not help but look proud. At this moment, the huge temple shook slightly. Then, in front of everyone, the tightly shut golden gate slowly rose up. A deep and mysterious passage appeared in front of everyone. It's here. The opportunity to become Principal's master is inside. Haha, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and enter. No one hesitated. Immediately, the 10 figures on the empty ground rushed into the mysterious tunnel. When they walked out of the mysterious tunnel, they discovered that they had arrived in a gorgeous galaxy. This galaxy was gorgeous and beautiful. There were countless stars in it. At a glance, it was intoxicating. In the center of this galaxy, there was a huge, boundless gray star floating quietly. This gray star was the absolute core of this galaxy. It was surrounded by endless gray air currents. It was flowing endlessly. From this gray star, a total of 10 gray light beams extended out. At the end of these 10 gray light beams, there was each a floating high platform. The high platform was not big, but it was enough for one person to use it to their heart's content. That gray star is the opportunity we are looking for. The Underworld Emperor raised his head and looked at the gray star in front of him with a face full of yearning. The ancestors of our supreme emotion-forgetting valley said that this gray star is very magical. The 10 light beams from its body are the connection point between us and the gray star. There are 10 high platforms under the 10 light beams, so we can each have one, Han Xian said. Let's go. Jian Wushuang and the others rushed toward the gray star. None of them chose a high platform and immediately sat down on the high platform. Jian Wushuang was also sitting cross-legged on one of the high platforms. The gray light beam connected to the high platform instantly shone on his body. At this moment, Jian Wushuang finally saw the huge gray star in front of him. At first he thought it was a star, but now, through the guidance of the gray light beam, he realized that it was not a star, but a light ball formed by the fusion of various powers. The power in the light ball had formed a complete cycle, forming an eternity, which made the power extremely calm. That was why the light ball looked like a star. The power that formed the light ball was the power of principles. Yes, it was the principles master, but it was not just one or two principles, but a dense amount of the power of principles. Space-time principles, reincarnation principles, destruction principles, life and death principles, darkness principles, light principles, thunder principles. Everything Jian Wushuang knew about the principles, the light ball had everything. These principles were obviously different, but they were perfectly integrated in the light ball. Chapter 3281. Complete Heavenly Tao, Incredible, Simply Incredible. Jian Wushuang carefully felt the composition of the light ball, but his heart was already in turmoil. Different rules contained unique characteristics, and it was almost difficult to coexist. For example, in the divine beginning realm, it was very difficult for many cultivators to combine the two principles. This could be seen from the countless immortal saints, including the Light King who had combined the two principles. However, this light ball did not only fuse the two principles, but it also perfectly fused all the principles in the world and formed an eternal state. What was this eternal light ball? Heavenly Tao. If I'm not wrong, this light ball is a complete Heavenly Tao. Jian Wushuang's heart trembled. He had long known that the Heavenly Tao was formed by the fusion of countless principles and mysteries. It was clearly the same as the light ball in front of him. This is the great opportunity in Bloodwave Temple. Each and every one of the complete eternal Heavenly Tao is in front of us. Jian Wushuang was a little confused. He did not expect to see a complete Heavenly Tao here. Moreover, he could clearly see the composition of the Heavenly Tao. Most importantly, each and every branch of the complete eternal Heavenly Tao was formed. Every single principle was placed before him in an incomparably complete and clear manner. Take the spacetime principles that he had comprehended, for example. Right now, he could directly see the essence of the spacetime principles through the complete Heavenly Tao in front of him. The vast and majestic spacetime principles. It was as if the outermost layer of his mysterious clothes had been stripped off, completely exposing himself in front of him. With a thought, he had many doubts about the spacetime principles in the past, but almost instantly he had an epiphany. I understand now. No wonder any immortal saint who enters the Blood Wave Temple can become a Principles Master after leaving the Blood Wave Temple. Jian Wushuang secretly praised. He could feel that it was too easy for him to comprehend the spacetime principles through the complete heavenly Tao on this high platform. It was like eating and drinking water. His comprehension of the spacetime principles was already extremely high. In such a state, he believed that it would only take him 10 days at most to completely master the remaining spacetime principles. Once he completely comprehended and mastered the principles, he would have reached the threshold of becoming a Principles Master. Every time the Blood Wave Temple opens, the cultivators who enter with the Blood Wave token can stay there for a whole month. 1 month. Jian Wushuang could not help smiling. After all, everyone who entered the Blood Wave realm was an expert. The weakest one was almost a peak saint. They had abundant divine power and high comprehension of the principles. Regardless of who had obtained the Blood Wave token and entered the Blood Wave Temple, through the comprehension of the complete heavenly Tao, anyone who was not stupid enough should be able to master the principles in 1 month. Once they had mastered the principles, they could easily attack the Principles Master as long as they had sufficient divine power. Divine power. Jian Wushuang moved his body and suddenly found a large amount of gray fog surging toward him. The gray fog was quite familiar to him. Heaven-cleaving mystic realm. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He clearly remembered that when he had entered the heaven-cleaving mystic realm, he had obtained the powerful divine power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. He had also gained something else. His realm had increased by 2 levels from a rank 1 true saint to a rank 3 true saint. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. The reason was that there was the same gray airflow in the heaven-cleaving mystic realm. The gray airflow entered his body and made his divine power increase rapidly. The gray fog that was moving toward him along the light beam was obviously of the same nature as the gray airflow in the heaven-cleaving mystic realm, but it was purer and denser than the gray airflow in the heaven-cleaving mystic realm. Buzz buzz buzz. A large amount of gray fog swept toward Jian Wushuang, whether he wanted to or not. It rushed directly into his body. Jian Wushuang immediately felt that his divine power was increasing at an astonishing speed. The speed of improvement was much faster than when he ate the divine power fruit. In just a moment he felt that his divine power had reached the high level of the rank 7 true saint from the initial stage of the rank 7 true saint. It's too fast. This speed of improvement is too fast. At this rate, it won't be long before I reach the peak of a rank 7 true saint. Then it'll continue to improve and reach the limit of a true saint. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. Through the complete eternal heavenly Tao, they could master the principles in a short period of time. Then, through the gray fog they could accumulate their divine power to the limit, master the principles, and have abundant divine power. The 2 requirements for breaking through the Principles Master were met at the same time, which led to 99 out of 100 experts who entered the Blood Wave Temple breaking through to become Principles Masters. Senior Blood Wave is really incredible. He actually created a complete eternal heavenly Tao. With this complete eternal heavenly Tao, doesn't he create as many Principles Masters as he wants? Jian Wushuang could not help thinking, but soon he shook his head slightly. He had guessed that the formation of the complete eternal heavenly Tao would not be so easy, and it would probably be limited. Otherwise, the Blood Wave realm would not only open once every 100,000 years. But in any case, the opportunities in the Blood Wave Temple were indeed incredible. The 9 people on the other 9 high platforms around Jian Wushuang were also overjoyed when they saw the magic contained in the complete heavenly Tao. Haha, with the help of this light ball, he'll definitely be able to master a complete set of principles within a month and become a Principles Master with ease. So this is the opportunity in the Blood Wave realm. It's amazing. With the help of the complete heavenly Tao, it'll be useless if I can't become a Principles Master. Excited voices sounded in their hearts. The people on the high platform did not waste any time and immediately began to comprehend their own principles. Jian Wushuang naturally closed his eyes and began to comprehend the spacetime principles with the help of the complete heavenly Tao in front of him. With the help of the complete heavenly Tao, Jian Wushuang's path of comprehending the spacetime principles no longer had any obstacles. He had clearly understood what he had been puzzled about before. As time passed, his comprehension of the spacetime principles became higher and higher. On the 16th day he had completely comprehended the spacetime principles. Chapter 3282. He could not make a breakthrough. Space-time, this is the real space-time. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with a trace of joy. Now he was clear about the space-time principles and no longer had any doubts. At this moment he could grasp all the power of the spacetime principles that existed between heaven and earth. This kind of complete mastery was completely different from before when he had only comprehended part of it. For example, no matter how high his comprehension of the spacetime principles was, the power of the spacetime principles that he could use could only be a part of heaven and earth, at most between 40% to 50%. But after completely grasping the spacetime principles that he could use suddenly reached 100%, which was undoubtedly a huge change. However, although I have completely mastered the spacetime principles, it doesn't mean that I have reached the limit in the spacetime field. After all, I have also mastered the spacetime principles, but if different people use it, the strength they will display will be different, Jian Wushuang thought. After completely mastering the spacetime principles, the next step of the spacetime Tao was to improve the method of using the spacetime principles. Do not underestimate this method of use. To many principles masters, the use of the power of principles was an important factor that represented their combat strength. For example, in the temporal temple, many principles masters had already comprehended the principles of time and space, but their strength was still strong and weak. For someone as strong as the temporal temple master, his use of the principles of time and space had already reached the peak. His strength looked down on the entire divine beginning realm. Even the 3 high and mighty saint realm masters were better than the enemy when facing the spacetime hall master. As for the weaker ones, like the ordinary principles masters, their use of the spacetime principles was very shallow, so their combat strength was not much stronger. Of course, for principles masters, the true decisive difference in strength was still the power of will. Every principles master in the divine beginning realm had at least one part of the power of will. This power of will could come from several aspects, but the most important part was the comprehension of the principles. As long as he had fully comprehended the principles master could have one more part of the power of will. Now that Jian Wushuang had fully comprehended the power of the spacetime principles, he had mastered the spacetime principles. Naturally, he had an additional will power of the spacetime principles. This will power was a spacetime mark that directly entered Jian Wushuang's glabella and merged into his mind. Jian Wushuang could also clearly sense the additional strange power in his mind. He guided this strange power as he pleased. Will power, is this the complete will power? Jian Wushuang exerted strength with both hands, and the strange power in his mind was instantly activated. Buzz buzz buzz. He felt that the void in which he was standing was trembling crazily. It's too strong, this will power is really too strong. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. He had swallowed divine power before, so he had temporarily obtained some of the power of the will. The power of the will contained in the divine power was only a small part of it. Even so, it still made his strength soar. But now, he had comprehended the complete principles and mastered a portion of the power of the will. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. The power of his will was much stronger than before. No wonder the immortal saint can't compete with the principles master in the divine beginning realm. No immortal saint can make up for the power of his will alone. Even for me, although I have a perfect life level and an incredible innate advantage, am at the top of the immortal saint realm. At most, I can match the principles master in the power of my divine power, but I can't make up for the difference in the power of my will, Jian Wushuang murmured. The power of will was granted by the principles of heaven and earth, so it was extraordinary. I have comprehended the spacetime principles and gained a portion of the power of will with the help of the complete heavenly Tao for more than 10 days. During this time, my divine power has reached the peak of the immortal saint. I should be able to directly attack the principles master and make a breakthrough easily, but why do I feel like I can't make a breakthrough at all? Jian Wushuang suddenly frowned. If it were an ordinary cultivator, he would have already met all the conditions for a breakthrough. If he chose to make a breakthrough, he would be able to become a principles master. Unfortunately, Jian Wushuang was not an ordinary cultivator. I can't make a breakthrough. Even if I have met all the conditions for a breakthrough, I still can't make a breakthrough. I don't even need to try. Jian Wushuang shook his head secretly, but he was not surprised. He had already guessed it when he was talking to Shuebo. There were all kinds of special life forms in the world. Although they had a huge innate advantage, they were greatly suppressed by the restrictions of the world. The reason why he could not make a breakthrough was because of the restrictions of the heavenly Tao. For other cultivators they could make a breakthrough, but he could not. He needed to be stronger and satisfy more difficult conditions than ordinary cultivators. It seems that it's impossible for me to become a principles master in Blood Wave Temple with the help of the opportunities here. Jian Wushuang smiled helplessly, but then he raised his head again. Although I can't break through to become a principles master, the opportunity in front of me is really hard to come by. It's still very helpful to me. I've only used 16 days to completely comprehend the spacetime principles. In the next 14 days I can completely focus on the reincarnation principles. If I can completely comprehend the reincarnation principles in the remaining time, then I can have an additional power of will. In that case I won't be any weaker than a real principles master. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and soon closed his eyes again. He began to study the samsara principles wholeheartedly. Of course, his comprehension of the samsara principles was much lower than that of the spacetime principles. Under such circumstances, it took him 16 days to completely understand the spacetime principles. The remaining 14 days, it was obviously impossible for him to completely understand the samsara principles, but it was enough to greatly improve the samsara principles. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, 14 days had passed. In the Blood Wave Temple, the 1-month deadline had also arrived. Chapter 3283, Breakthrough After Breakthrough, Phew, is it over? On the high platform, Jian Wushuang slowly opened his eyes. He saw that the light that had been shining on his body had disappeared, and his connection with the light ball in front of him was also slowly disappearing. Indeed, it did not take long, this connection had completely disappeared, and Jian Wushuang could no longer sense any mysterious existence from the light ball. He understood that the 1-month deadline had come to an end, and their opportunity in the Blood Wave Temple had ended. Sure enough, in just 14 days, it's impossible for me to comprehend the samsara principles again. However, in these 14 days my gains are still not small. A smile appeared on the corner of Jian Wushuang's mouth. During these 14 days he had been studying the samsara principles. With the help of the complete heavenly Tao cycle, his comprehension of the samsara principles had reached the limit of a saint in just 14 days. He was only one step away from completely grasping it, but that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that Jian Wushuang had stepped into a new threshold in these 14 days. The threshold was the fusion of principles. The perfect fusion of two different principles. The complete cycle of heavenly Tao in front of Jian Wushuang was formed by the perfect fusion of many principles. Through the complete cycle of heavenly Tao, he could not only clearly see each principle, but also feel how these principles merged together. Therefore, in these 14 days he also carefully studied the process of merging these principles. Although he did not merge his space-time and samsara principles, he had already seen some of the paths. Although it was just a path, he knew that everything in process started from stepping into the path. Previously, Jian Wushuang did not even know the path. Even if he wanted to merge the two principles, he could not find any place to start. But now it was different. He had already seen the path and he had barely comprehended some of the next steps. This was definitely a big step for him. In the future, it would be much easier for him to merge the two principles. Even now, if he was willing, he could still combine the power of the two principles of spacetime and reincarnation at the same time when he attacked. It was similar to Dihao's ability to superimpose the two principles, but Dihao was able to do it. Not only did he have a certain understanding of the fusion of the two principles, but it was also related to the giant axe that he had specially refined. However, Jian Wushuang did not need it. Now he could superimpose the two principles with great ease. Although the power of the explosion could not be compared to the fusion of the two principles, it was definitely much easier than Dihao's. Naturally, his power was also much stronger. In general, although I did not become a principles master in this month, my gains are definitely not lower than that of becoming a principles master. Jian Wushuang smiled. He was already very satisfied with his gains in this month. At this time he looked at the high platforms on the side. The people on the high platforms had also cut off their connection with the complete heavenly Tao cycle. However, they did not feel regretful. On the contrary, their faces were filled with smiles. Jian Wushuang had gained a lot in the past month, and their gains were certainly not small. Moreover, when they were able to form a connection with the complete heavenly Tao cycle, they were trying their best to comprehend and improve their strength. Even though they had met the various requirements to become principles masters, they did not immediately break through and continue to comprehend. However, now that they had severed their connection with the complete heavenly Tao cycle, they immediately began to attack the principles master. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. In just a short moment, boom. This great galaxy shook violently, and an incomparably vast and tyrannical aura suddenly spread out from one of the high platforms. As soon as this aura appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of everyone around. It's the Light King. Look at this aura, he has broken through to become a principles master. Thanks, as expected of the number 1 Light King on the True Saint rankings. His speed is really fast. Looks like we have to speed up as well. Everyone sighed in their hearts, but they were not envious, because they could also break through. Sure enough, not long after the Light King broke through, boom, boom, boom. One after another, a strong aura spread out. The Underworld Emperor, Emperor Hao, Kazun, several people also broke through to become a Principles Master. Breakthrough, finally breakthrough. Principles Master, I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Principles Master, this is the power of the Principles Master, is really very strong. Hearty laughter echoed in the galaxy. Those who had broken through to Principles Master were naturally very happy and had left their respective high platforms. On the other high platforms, the remaining people were also doing their best to charge at Principles Master. At this time, Emperor Ming and Di Hao had already come to Jian Wushuang's side. Brother Heavenly Marquis, haven't you broken through yet? Emperor Ming looked at Jian Wushuang. I'm not like you. It's not that easy to break through, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Emperor Ming raised his eyebrows and was not surprised. In that case you can break through slowly. Di Hao and I will wait for you outside. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. Not only did Emperor Ming and Di Hao leave, but the others who had broken through to the Principles Master also left one after another. After all, they had obtained the opportunity and become Principles Masters. It was meaningless for them to stay in the Blood Wave Temple. Boom, boom. The breakthrough still did not end. Han Xn, Silver Wolf, Snow Saint, and the extremely cunning and unknown Invincible Saint also broke through to become Principles Masters. Han Xn, Snow Saint, and the unknown person did not stay in the galaxy for long. They left immediately after the breakthrough. As for Silver Wolf, he paused for a moment. In the center of the galaxy, Silver Wolf looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of coldness in his eyes. Heavenly Sword Marquis hasn't made the breakthrough yet. If I attack now, can I kill him directly? Silver Wolf pondered. He had made the breakthrough to become a Principles Master, so he naturally thought that he was stronger than Jian Wushuang, who had not made the breakthrough. However, he was hesitating whether to attack or not. It must be known that at the very beginning, the highest level of the 3 Saint Realms gave the order to kill the Heavenly Sword Marquis at all costs. After discovering that the Heavenly Sword Marquis could not be killed, he ordered them to find a way to prevent Jian Wushuang from getting the Blood Wave command and becoming the Principles Master. Unfortunately, they did not succeed. Now the Silver Wolf sees an opportunity. Chapter 3284 had been completed. Jian Wushuang, he definitely wanted to kill him. Not only himself but also the 3 Saint Realms behind him. It should be known that the highest level of the 3 Saint Realms had given the order to kill Heavenly Sword Marquis at all costs. But when they found that Heavenly Sword Marquis could not be killed, they ordered them to find a way to prevent Jian Wushuang from becoming a Principles Master with the Blood Wave token. Unfortunately, they did not succeed. But now, Silver Wolf seemed to see an opportunity. After pondering for a moment, Silver Wolf finally shook his head. Forget it. The life-saving ability of Heavenly Sword Marquis is very good. Although I have broken through to become a Principles Master, I'm still not absolutely sure that I can kill him. At most, I can only hinder his breakthrough. But if he really meets the conditions to become a Principles Master, I can only hinder him now. After he leaves the Blood Wave Temple, he can still break through anytime and anywhere. Besides, this is the Blood Wave Temple after all. No one knows what the principles are. If I attack now and make the Master of the Blood Wave Temple angry, I might be the one to suffer. With a sigh, Silver Wolf turned around and left. After Silver Wolf left, Jian Wushuang and Saint Devil's Son were the only 2 people left in the galaxy. Saint Devil's Son was also a special life form. Although Jian Wushuang guessed that he was only an initial level life form, as long as he was a special life form, he would be restricted. However, the restriction was not as huge as Jian Wushuang's. Saint Devil's Son had already reached the condition of breaking through to become a Principles Master in the past month. However, he needed some time and luck to break through. As for Jian Wushuang, he could not break through to become a Principles Master now, so he had no intention of breaking through here. The reason why he chose to stay was because he wanted to master the Life Divine Power here first. The Life Divine Power was created by the founder of the Temple of Life in order to allow special life forms to make more use of their innate advantages. This divine power was of great use to every special life form, and it was even more useful to perfect life forms like Jian Wushuang. This divine power was extremely complicated, but fortunately, Blood Wave only gave Jian Wushuang the first volume of this divine power. With Jian Wushuang's talent and comprehension, it was not too difficult for him to master it. Time passed and Jian Wushuang continued to pass. In a flash, another 3 days passed. Boom. A violent rumble suddenly sounded in the galaxy, and the entire galaxy shook violently. On a high platform in the galaxy, a terrifying aura suddenly spread out. 3 days after the others had left, Saint Devil's son, who was a special life form, finally made a breakthrough. His breakthrough was obviously much more significant than that of ordinary people. Fortunately, he was in the blood wave realm and not in the divine beginning realm, otherwise, it would have been even more significant. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. The breakthrough only lasted for a moment, and then everything began to calm down. Whoosh. A figure suddenly rushed out from the high platform and came to the surroundings of the high platform where Jian Wushuang was. Saint Devil's son, who had become a principal's master, looked down at Jian Wushuang, who was still motionless with his eyes closed. His expression changed slightly. Heavenly Sword Marquis hasn't made a breakthrough. It seems that his life level is slightly higher than mine, Saint Devil's son thought to himself. He did not know how many levels special life forms could be divided into, but he knew that there were strong and weak life levels. Jian Wushuang's performance in the blood wave realm had been recognized as a special life form. Naturally, Saint Devil's son was also curious about Jian Wushuang. He wanted to compete with Jian Wushuang and see who had a higher life level. But now he had a rough guess. The higher the life level, the more difficult it would be to break through from the immortal saint to the principal's master. It took him 3 days to break through to the principal's master, but Jian Wushuang had not made any progress. This was enough to explain the problem. I hope he's lucky. If he doesn't break through to the principal's master level in the end, hell become a joke, Saint Devil's son muttered and left. After Saint Devil's son left, Jian Wushuang was the only one left in the galaxy. 2 days later, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes again. The first volume of the Life Divine Power has finally been completed. Jian Wushuang smiled. Having mastered the Life Divine Power, his appearance and body had not changed at all. However, his understanding of his own life had reached a new level. Lord Bloodwave is right. The innate advantages of special life are far from simple on the surface. It's just that we can't fully exert these advantages. But now, with the full power of the first volume of the Life Divine Power, I should be able to exert 20% of my innate advantages. An innate advantage of 20%. Let's try it. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. Then, he flipped his palm and the Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. In this galaxy, Jian Wushuang did not use any secret skill. He just relied on his own strength and swung his sword. He did not use any sword skill. Even so, the moment he swung the Blood Mountain sword, a terrifying sword shadow suddenly took shape. The terrifying sword shadow cut through the void with an earth-shaking power, leaving an extremely long distance before gradually dissipating. This sword attack of mine should not be weaker than an ordinary principal's master's attack, right? Jian Wushuang smiled. This sword attack of his was just a casual sword attack. He did not use any means and of course he did not use any life force divine power. He only used his current divine power to execute this sword attack. But one had to know that during the 1 month in this galaxy, his divine power had been constantly increasing. Now, his divine power had already reached the limit of a true saint. In other words, in terms of realm, he was already an invincible saint. As a perfect level life force, once he reached the invincible saint realm, his innate divine power advantage allowed his divine power to completely rival that of an ordinary principal's master. In other words, every move of his could unleash the power of the principal's master's divine power. Then Jian Wushuang began to activate his life divine power. Buzz buzz buzz. Jian Wushuang's divine body was trembling, and a strong aura of life gradually emerged. The moment he activated his life divine power, Jian Wushuang clearly sensed that the hidden power in his body had been activated. Although he had only activated a part of it, it was still enormous. Chapter 3285. Power of Two Wills. Buzz. Jian Wushuang struck again. It was also an ordinary sword move without any techniques. However, he had only used his own strength to perform the previous sword move, but this sword move, he had used his life divine power to fully display 20% of the innate advantage of his perfect life. Whoosh. The sword shadow passed by the galaxy in front of him and instantly caused the entire galaxy to tremble crazily. The countless dazzling stars in the galaxy seemed to have lost their light in front of this sword light. This sword attack was exceptionally eye-catching. The sword light fell and the galaxy was finally completely cut open. A large amount of power swept out crazily like a tide. Just the power that spread out, in Jian Wushuang's eyes, it was enough to kill the invincible saints easily. This power was above that of an ordinary Principles Master. After a long time, the power finally dissipated and the galaxy calmed down. However, Jian Wushuang was still too excited to calm down. It's too strong. My sword is too strong. It feels like it's dozens of times stronger than the sword I just used. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. The sword he just used with his divine power was not weaker than an ordinary Principles Master, but dozens of times stronger than that one? What did that mean? Under normal circumstances, even if a Principles Master used all the power of his will in his body, he could not increase his attack dozens of times. Now that I've used my life divine power to bring out my innate advantage to a greater extent, the extra power feels like it's comparable to the power of my will. Jian Wushuang was very excited. It was very difficult to obtain the power of will. In addition to completely mastering a principle, only by opening up his own mystic realm of heaven and earth or fusing principles could he gain more power of will. But now Jian Wushuang was able to gain more power of will just by relying on a special divine power he got from Blood Wave. What a huge advantage was this. Moreover, Jian Wushuang had already completely mastered the principles, so he already had a portion of the power of will. A portion of the power of my will, coupled with the additional power of my life divine ability, is equivalent to one portion of the power of my will. In other words, I now have 2 portions of the power of my will. Jian Wushuang was stunned. A rule master with one part of his will power could only be considered an ordinary Principles Master. If he had 2 parts of his will power at the same time, he was not considered weak among Principles Masters. However, Jian Wushuang now had 2 parts of his will power at the same time. In addition to his life level, his basic divine power was no weaker than that of a Principles Master. Even the secret skills he cultivated from the 7-star mysterious sect were extraordinary. In total, he was now comparable to those Principles Masters who had 2 wills. I still have many trump cards, especially the heaven-cleaving skill created by my master, which can also allow me to display more of my innate advantages. This heaven-cleaving skill is barely comparable to the power of 1 will. In total, doesn't that mean I have the power of 3 wills? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Even he himself was shocked by this result. Not long ago he was just an immortal saint, and he could only avoid meeting the Principles Master. However, in the blink of an eye, he had divine power comparable to the Principles Master, and it was equivalent to having 30% of the power of his will. One had to know that a Principles Master who could have 3 parts of his will at the same time was definitely a peak existence among the many Principles Masters in the Divine Beginning realm. It was a huge improvement from an immortal saint to a level that was almost comparable to a top-notch Principles Master. All of this was largely due to the opportunity in Blood Wave Temple. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Blood Wave Temple was the dream place of countless immortal saints. Many of them had broken through to become Principles Masters through Blood Wave Temple. However, for Jian Wushuang, although he did not break through to become a Principles Master in Blood Wave Temple, his gains were even greater than breaking through to become a Principles Master directly. Most importantly, he saw Blood Wave, learned about many secret existences, knew about the Life Palace, and also came into contact with the universe. My gains are so great. Even if I can't break through to become a Principles Master, I'm satisfied. Now it's time to leave. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He did not miss this galaxy too much. He walked out directly. Outside the Blood Wave Palace, there was a sea of people. During the month when Jian Wushuang and the others entered the Blood Wave Palace and obtained the opportunity, the many saint experts who had stayed in the Blood Wave Palace did not leave. Instead, they stood there and waited quietly. After waiting for a full month, finally, people came out of the Blood Wave Palace one after another. The first one to come out was the Light King. The Light King is out. Judging from his aura, he has indeed broken through to become the Principles Master. It's normal. His strength is publicly recognized as the #1 among the invincible saints. It's impossible for him to not break through in the Blood Wave Hall with such strength. When the Light King was a saint, his combat strength was already so strong. Moreover, he had already fused with the 2 great principles very early on. Now that he has broken through to the Principles Master, it's very possible for him to directly obtain 2 portions of the power of will. How strong must his strength be? Who knows? In any case, he is very strong. Countless gazes gathered on the Light King who had just walked out of the Blood Wave Hall. Most of these gazes were filled with reverence, but at the same time, there was also hidden envy and jealousy. The Principles Master was something that everyone yearned for. But unfortunately, they had already missed the opportunity in the Blood Wave Hall this time. After the Light King, the others also walked out one after another. Just as everyone thought, those who entered the Blood Wave Hall alone almost became the principal's masters after coming out. The Underworld Emperor, Emperor Hao, Master Ku, and the others, as well as the Invincible Saint who was only lucky enough to get a Blood Wave token but was relatively average in strength, also directly broke through to become the principal's masters. Even a special life form like the Saint Devil Son also broke through to become the principal's masters and walked out of the Blood Wave Hall. Since then, 9 out of 10 people who had entered Blood Wave Temple had stepped out, and all of them had broken through to principal's master. As for the last person, of course, it was Jian Wushuang. 9 of them have come out, and all of them have broken through to principal's master. All that's left is Heavenly Sword Marquis. Why hasn't Heavenly Sword Marquis come out yet? I don't know. It's probably because of some special reason. After all, he's also a special life form. When he breaks through, he still needs to spend some effort. Chapter 3286. No breakthrough? Understood. Everyone was not in a hurry and continued to wait outside the Blood Wave Hall. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Just as everyone was getting impatient from waiting, the doors of the Blood Wave Hall finally opened once again. Following that, a figure slowly walked out of the hall. He's out. He's finally out. The people outside Blood Wave Temple also looked over. But when they saw this, many people had strange expressions. Because they had noticed the divine power aura that Jian Wushuang emitted at the first moment. If this divine power aura was much stronger than Jian Wushuang's before, it would be much stronger. However, no matter how strong it was only at the limit of true saint. It was still far from being a principal's master. The aura of the principal's master emitted by the Light King and the others was extremely dazzling. Compared to them, Jian Wushuang's divine power aura was on a completely different level. He didn't make a breakthrough? It's still the aura of the true saint realm. Heavenly Sword Marquis stayed in the Blood Wave Temple for so long, but he didn't make a breakthrough? He got the Blood Wave token and entered the Blood Wave Temple, but he didn't make a breakthrough to become a principal's master? The crowd was immediately filled with shocked and surprised voices. Even the people who had entered the Blood Wave Temple with Jian Wushuang and become principal's masters were surprised. He hasn't broken through? Light King frowned slightly as if he had not thought of this. The Blood Wave Temple has such an incredible opportunity. Almost anyone who doesn't look like a saint should be able to break through. Heavenly Sword Marquis is so talented, but he hasn't broken through. How is this possible? Master Ku was stunned. Han Xin's eyebrows twitched. No one knew what she was thinking. As expected, Heavenly Sword Marquis, life level is much higher than mine, and there are more obstacles and difficulties in making a breakthrough. I finally made a breakthrough to become a principal's master, but it seems that he is still a little lacking. Only Saint Devil Son was prepared for Jian Wushuang's result. He was not too surprised. The people who were on good terms with Jian Wushuang, including Emperor Ming, Di Hao, Tai Ta, and the Temporal Temple, frowned. Emperor Ming and Emperor Hao immediately rushed toward Jian Wushuang. Brother Heavenly Marquis, what happened? Emperor Ming asked. What do you mean, what happened? Jian Wushuang was confused. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. What do you think? Of course it's about breaking through. How come you haven't broken through to become a principal's master? Emperor Ming said. He was indeed puzzled. After all, he had entered Blood Wave Temple personally and knew what the opportunity in Blood Wave Temple was. It was simply an incredible opportunity. With this opportunity, as long as he was not extremely stupid, he would definitely be able to break through to become a principal's master. As for Jian Wushuang, he was an incredible genius. It should be easier for such a genius to break through, but he could not accept the result now. Seeing the expression on Emperor Ming's face, Jian Wushuang smiled and said, "There's nothing to say. If I can't break through, I can't." Jian Wushuang looked very relaxed, as if he did not care about his failure to break through. In fact, he did not care at all because his gains in Blood Wave Temple were already very great. Well, you're open-minded. Underworld Emperor rolled his eyes and did not know what to say. Jian Wushuang smiled and walked forward. Along the way, he noticed many strange gazes around him. These gazes were indeed strange and good, with some mockery, doubt, and even some gloating. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Silver Wolf. Haha, Heavenly Sword Marquis, I thought you had great abilities, but I didn't expect you to be so useless. In front of such an incredible opportunity in the Blood Wave Temple, as long as you are not stupid enough, you should be able to break through to become a principal's master with ease, but you actually didn't break through? Haha, I'm dying of laughter, Heavenly Marquis Sword, so you're such trash. Silver Wolf laughed without restraint. That laughter reverberated throughout the entire void, allowing everyone present to hear it clearly. When the surrounding experts heard these words, although they did not say anything on the surface from the strange smiles on the corners of many people's mouths, they clearly agreed with Silver Wolf's words. Previously, Heavenly Sword Marquis said that he is a super genius that is rarely seen in the divine beginning realm for billions of years. But now it seems that he is only SOSO. Indeed, Bloodwave Hall is such a good opportunity. If any one of us could enter, we would have broken through, but he couldn't. He wasted such a good opportunity for nothing. What peerless genius. In my opinion, he is more or less a trash. Trash stupid pig. I don't even know what he's been doing in Bloodwave Temple for so long. This Heavenly Sword Marquis is really embarrassing. Many experts were whispering to each other. Although they lowered their voices so that Jian Wushuang could not hear them, Jian Wushuang could guess what they were talking about just by looking at their expressions. Jian Wushuang was not annoyed. He did not care about what they thought of him. He just wanted to know how much progress he had made in Bloodwave Temple. On the other hand, Emperor Ming, who was standing beside Jian Wushuang, could not hold it in any longer. A bunch of bastards. Do you want to die? Emperor Ming's cold voice with killing intent suddenly echoed. For a moment, the entire world fell silent. The experts who were still whispering among themselves also smiled bitterly and did not dare to say anything more. After all, although Jian Wushuang had not broken through to become a principal's master, his strength was still enough to make them revere him, not to mention that Emperor Ming and Di Hao were obviously on his side. However, the immortal saints present did not dare to say anything because they were afraid. However, Silver Wolf, who had already broken through to become a principal's master, did not have any fear. What? Underworld Emperor, this Heavenly Sword Marquis is a trash. It's a fact that he wasted such a good opportunity. Why doesn't he let others say it? Silver Wolf sneered. Before he broke through, Underworld Emperor was stronger than him. He was still a little afraid of Underworld Emperor. However, both of them had already broken through and become the principal's master. Moreover, both of them had grasped a set of principles and the power of a will. Under such circumstances, the two of them were very close. Naturally, the Silver Wolf did not need to be afraid of the Underworld Emperor. Because no matter what, the Underworld Emperor could not do anything to him. Among the people present, only the Light King, who had fused two principles and a special life form, the Saint Devil's Son, had two wills, had the right to make him fear. Chapter 3287. Jian Wushuang and Silver Wolf. Silver Wolf. Before you entered the Bloodwave Temple, you didn't even dare to show your face in front of the Heavenly Sword Marquis for fear of being targeted and killed by him. You're not as good as the 9 Temple Saints. Now that you've come out of the Bloodwave Temple and saw that the Heavenly Sword Marquis hasn't broken through to become Principal's Masters, you've become arrogant? What a joke. Underworld Emperor looked at Silver Wolf, his face was full of mockery. Upon hearing Underworld Emperor's words, Silver Wolf's face suddenly changed. Before entering the Bloodwave Temple, not only him, but all the experts of the 3 Saint Realms in the Bloodwave Realm were extremely afraid of Jian Wushuang. No one dared to show their faces in front of Jian Wushuang. Even outside the Bloodwave Temple, Silver Wolf had waited until Jian Wushuang had entered the Bloodwave Temple to fight for the last Bloodwave token. Everyone knew this, but now Emperor Ming had said it in front of everyone, which made Silver Wolf feel embarrassed. What a joke. Why should I be afraid of him? Silver Wolf snorted. You know very well whether I'm afraid or not. Emperor Ming sneered. He wanted to say something, but Jian Wushuang, who had been standing silently by the side, stopped him with a wave of his hand. Silver Wolf. Jian Wushuang opened his mouth and looked over. Congratulations on breaking through to become a Principal's Master. Silver Wolf was shocked. He did not expect Jian Wushuang to congratulate him first. They did not have any friendship, only a great enmity. Such a congratulations would not be good. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang continued, it's said that the Supreme Principal's Master is far more powerful than the Immortal Saint. Now that you've broken through, your strength must be much stronger than before, right? Nonsense. The Principal's Master and the Immortal Saint are 2 completely different levels. Of course, the gap is huge, Silver Wolf said before asking, Heavenly Sword Marquis, what are you trying to say? Nothing. I'm just curious how much stronger you are now that you've become a Principal's Master. That's why I want to fight you head-on, Jian Wushuang said indifferently. His words were extremely calm. However, as soon as he said that, the entire void instantly quieted down. Many people looked at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. Although Jian Wushuang was the focus of everyone's attention previously, They only looked at him with surprise and disdain because he had not broken through. But now they looked at him as if they were looking at a fool. Yes, they were looking at a fool. After all, although the immortal saint was only one step away from the principal's master, the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. After all, the power of the principal's master's will was too strong, it was almost impossible for the immortal saint to make up for it. In the history of the divine beginning realm, there had been countless talented experts, many of whom were enough to shock the world. Similarly, there were also many who were able to cross ranks to challenge the principal's master. However, they were only at the level of a true saint. It was impossible for a true saint to challenge a principal's master. At least in the history of the divine beginning realm, there had never been an immortal saint who could defeat a principal's master. It was impossible for him to even fight a principal's master head-on. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Jian Wushuang knew this, but he still took the initiative to challenge Silver Wolf. Was he not a fool? Heavenly Sword Marquis, what did you just say? Silver Wolf looked at Jian Wushuang with a strange smile. Brother Heavenly Marquis. Emperor Ming and Di Hao also looked over. Among them, Emperor Ming said directly, Brother Heavenly Marquis, you don't have to pay attention to him. At most, you can let him be proud for a while. If he dares to be presumptuous again, I, Brother Gung Hao, will help you teach him a good lesson. Di Hao also nodded slightly. Apparently, both of them thought that Jian Wushuang was a little impulsive to take the initiative to challenge the principal's master. After all, they were both principal's masters now and knew how powerful the principal's master was. However, after hearing the Underworld Emperor's words, Jian Wushuang just shook his head and smiled. It doesn't matter. Since I dare to take the initiative to challenge him, I naturally have a certain degree of confidence. You two just watch in peace. Underworld Emperor and Di Hao looked at each other. Although they were still frowning since Jian Wushuang had said so, they would not stop him. Moreover, they knew how strong Jian Wushuang's life-saving ability was. After breaking through to Principal's master, Silver Wolf might be able to crush Jian Wushuang, but it was almost impossible to kill him. Therefore they could rest assured that Jian Wushuang would make a move. At this moment, the smile on Silver Wolf's face grew wider, and a trace of killing intent emerged from the bottom of his heart. Heavenly Sword Marquis and the three Saint Realms have been at each other's throats for a long time. The highest level officials of the three Saint Realms all want to kill him, but they have been unable to kill him in the Blood Wave Realm, but that was before. Before, the battle strength in the Blood Wave Realm was only at the Saint Realm, so any battle strength above the Principal's Master level would be limited. But now, we Principal's Masters who have made a breakthrough in the Blood Wave Realm are not limited in strength at all. With my current strength, I have a chance to kill Heavenly Sword Marquis with all my strength. Of course, the premise is that he doesn't use space-time teleportation and Emperor Ming and Di Hao don't help him. Silver Wolf narrowed his eyes. He believed that he now had the battle strength to kill Jian Wushuang, but he did not want to kill Jian Wushuang in the beginning because Jian Wushuang's life-saving ability was too strong. In addition, Emperor Gung and Emperor Hao were obviously on Jian Wushuang's side. However, it was different now because Jian Wushuang had taken the initiative to challenge him, which gave him a chance to fight Jian Wushuang face-to-face. Moreover, Jian Wushuang would never choose to use space-time teleportation to escape in the beginning. This gave him a perfect opportunity to kill Jian Wushuang. Although Jian Wushuang's divine power was vast and his chances of success were slim, what if he succeeded? Although I'm one of the top geniuses in the Life and Death Saint Realm and have reached the Principal's Master Realm, I still can't enter the highest level of the Life and Death Saint Realm. However, the highest level of the Life and Death Saint Realm values Heavenly Sword Marquis so much that even the Saint Master has been paying attention to him. If I can kill Heavenly Sword Marquis again, it will definitely bring me closer to the highest level, and I might even be favored by the Saint Master. Silver Wolf clenched his hands at the thought of this, his heart became incomparably excited. Chapter 3288, The Master of Principles, Silver Wolf. Kill him. You must seize this opportunity to kill Heavenly Sword Marquis. Silver Wolf looked at Jian Wushuang with a fierce look, like a beast ready to come out of its cage. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you asked for it? If you lose or die in my hands, don't blame me, the Principal's Master, for bullying an immortal saint like you. Of course not. So many people here have witnessed me taking the initiative to challenge you. Even if I die in your hands, it's my own fault. It has nothing to do with you, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Well, then let me see where you get the courage to take the initiative to challenge me. Silver Wolf's voice was cold and echoed in the surrounding void. At the same time, the tyrannical aura of the Principal's Master Realm on his body also spread out in all directions. also unscrupulously spread out in all directions. Previously, Silver Wolf's aura had been somewhat restrained, but now that it had completely erupted, the strength of this aura caused the expressions of the surrounding experts to change. Too strong, Principles Master. Just this aura alone is enough to make an ordinary immortal saint lose the courage to resist. Looks like this Heavenly Sword Marquis is going to be unlucky. Humph, even if he's unlucky, it's his own fault. How dare the immortal saint challenge the Principles Master? Many experts were whispering among themselves. Of course, they did not think highly of Jian Wushuang. After all, the gap between their levels was obvious. In their opinion, this battle would at least be the result of Jian Wushuang being trampled on. On the contrary, the experts who had already broken through to the Principles Master now had a change of character. They were also curious as to why Jian Wushuang dared to challenge Principles Masters as a Saint Realm expert. The surrounding people had already retreated and made way for a huge battlefield. Jian Wushuang and Silver Wolf stood at the center of the battlefield. Countless gazes were fixed on them. They were all looking forward to the battle between the two of them. Heavenly Sword Marquis, don't think that you can disregard the Principles Master just because you have some talent. Today I will let you know what a real Principles Master is and how big the gap between the Principles Master and the Immortal Saint is. Silver Wolf sneered. The aura emitted by his voice became stronger and stronger. Cut the crap, let's fight, Jian Wushuang said indifferently. Kill? Silver Wolf did not hesitate anymore. He suddenly rushed forward like a shooting star. A ghostly silver light flashed and suddenly appeared in front of Jian Wushuang like a silver moon. Then a cold silver spear pierced through the void and stabbed toward Jian Wushuang's throat. This spear was incredibly fast, but its power was also terrifying. Just the sound of the spear piercing through the void made the hearts of countless experts palpitate. This spear had completely surpassed the level of the Immortal Saint. Logically speaking, the Immortal Saint should not be able to block it. However, in the face of this spear, Jian Wushuang still had a smile on his face. The Blood Mountain sword behind him had already been unsheathed, and he casually waved his sword. The sword light flashed and struck the spear tip, and then the power burst out. Clang. With a crisp sound, the silver light danced and the sword essence spread out. But then a silver ghost-like figure directly retreated backward. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. He stood firm and revealed the shocked face of Silver Wolf. How could it be? Silver Wolf stared at Jian Wushuang in surprise. You are just an immortal saint, but how could you be so powerful? I used 100% of my strength, but in the face of a head-on collision, I was actually at a disadvantage? Silver Wolf indeed felt incredulous. And when the surrounding spectators saw Silver Wolf's figure fly backward, they immediately cried out in surprise. Silver Wolf was actually repelled? How is this possible? Silver Wolf is a true Principles Master. Logically speaking, his strength should be able to completely crush the Immortal Saint, but in a head-on collision with Heavenly Sword Marquis, he was actually at a disadvantage? Did Silver Wolf just break through and not fully control his strength? Or did he not use his full strength just now? No, Silver Wolf should have used his full strength and used the power of the Principles Master. But if nothing goes wrong, Heavenly Sword Marquis might be stronger in terms of strength. Don't forget, he is a special life form. The experts on the field were discussing. Silver Wolf stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. Heavenly Sword Marquis, it seems that I was too careless. Indeed, you're a special life form and am afraid you're very strong among special life forms. Before, you just broke through to rank 7 true saint and your strength was already comparable to that of an invincible saint. Now, after a month in the Blood Wave Palace, your divine power has greatly increased and you've reached the limit of an immortal saint. It's normal for you to be comparable to the Principles Master in terms of strength. Hearing Silver Wolf's words, the surrounding people also came to a sudden realization. You're not stupid. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, which was a tacit agreement. Indeed, as a special life form, his strength was much stronger than that of other cultivators of the same level. Even for a special life form of the initial level like the Saint Devil's Son, as long as he reached the limit of the Immortal Saint, his strength should be close to that of an ordinary Principles Master. Jian Wushuang, on the other hand, was a perfect life form standing at the top, much stronger than an initial stage special life form. Once he reached the top of the Immortal Saint, he would be comparable to an ordinary Principles Master in terms of the most basic power, or perhaps even stronger. Because of this, he had just defeated the Silver Wolf with a casual sword strike. Of course, this was also because the Silver Wolf had yet to use the power of his will. The Principles Master. The reason why he was far stronger than the immortal saint was not because of his basic strength, but because of the power of his will. Silver Wolf, I'm going to use the power of my will. The gazes of the surrounding experts were focused on the Silver Wolf, and at this moment, a special power surged out from the Silver Wolf's body. This power was the power of will. Then Silver Wolf attacked again. Whoosh! Silver light flashed and a cold spear flew through the void, whistling toward Jian Wushuang's head. It was also a cold and sharp spear, but with the addition of the power of will, the power of the spear suddenly increased by dozens of times. Dozens of times? What kind of concept was that? This is the power of the complete willpower of the principle's master. It's too powerful, too terrifying. It's much, much stronger than the willpower we barely used after swallowing divine power. This is the true principle's master. The countless experts around also sighed. Chapter 3289. He was not a principle's master, but he was better than a principle's master. After using the power of his will, Silver Wolf finally unleashed the true strength of a principle's master. The spear, which was whistling and thrusting forward, spun with a monstrous air wave and formed a huge dark vortex, as if it was going to swallow Jian Wushuang completely. When the dark vortex appeared in front of Jian Wushuang also made a move. He also casually slashed out with his sword. At the same time, Jian Wushuang also used the principle's power that he had mastered. Whoosh! The sword light was like ink and it immediately struck the huge dark vortex. This time there was no sound, but the dark vortex had already collapsed. From the large amount of black air flow, a figure retreated in a sorry state. This person was Silver Wolf again. It would be understandable if the first time Silver Wolf was pushed back by Jian Wushuang because he did not use the power of his will and the divine power of his principle's master, but now Silver Wolf had used the power of his will to fully display his battle strength. On such a basis, he was still at a disadvantage in a head-on fight with Jian Wushuang. This was unacceptable to everyone present. How is this possible? This is impossible. The principle's master can't defeat an immortal saint with his power? Many people looked at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. Silver Wolf was completely dumbfounded. He stared at Jian Wushuang with his eyes wide open. You have broken through to become the principle's master? A principle's master? No, I'm not. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Then how could you be so strong? You've clearly mastered a complete set of the power of will. Silver Wolf said in a low voice. What a joke. Can only a principle's master master the power of will? Or can only a principle's master master a complete set of principles? Jian Wushuang said with a chuckle. Silver Wolf was stunned, but he immediately understood. You have perfectly mastered a principle, and your divine power has clearly reached the limit of the immortal saint. You have fulfilled all the requirements for breaking through to become a principle's master. Is it because you're a special life form that you can't break through? The surrounding people immediately understood when they heard this. That was right. As long as one completely comprehended a principle, one could obtain a portion of the power of will. However, this did not mean that only the principle's master could grasp the power of will. There were some extremely special immortal saints. Although they grasped the principles due to various reasons, they were unable to break through and become the principle's master. However, they could already use this power of will to kill their enemies. However, such people were very rare. After all, ordinary cultivators could easily break through to become principle's masters as long as they had comprehended the principles and accumulated their divine power to the limit. If they could break through, no one would choose to stay at the immortal saint realm. Because of this, the experts present had almost forgotten that there was such a special immortal saint. It was not until now that Jian Wushuang revealed his strength that everyone came to a realization. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. It turns out that Heavenly Sword Marquis has mastered the principles and obtained a portion of the power of will. No wonder. I thought it was strange. Even an ordinary invincible saint could break through to become a principle's master after entering the Blood Wave Temple. It should be impossible for an incredible genius like him to fail. It turns out that he has fulfilled all the conditions to break through to a principle's master. The reason why he can't break through is because of the special life form. Although a special life form has a huge innate advantage, its limitations are equally shocking. Heavenly Sword Marquis must have a very high life level, so it must be more difficult for him to break through. It's reasonable that he can't break through. We all understand now. I told you, how could Heavenly Sword Marquis be a waste? Voices of discussion rose and fell in the surroundings. Those who had started to belittle Jian Wushuang when he failed to break through to become a principal's master had all changed their words. Obviously, there was a reason why Jian Wushuang could not break through in Bloodwave Temple. It was not because he was not capable but because of some special relationship. As a special life form, Heavenly Sword Marquis is no weaker than Silver Wolf, the principal's master, in terms of basic strength. He is even stronger. Now he has also mastered the principles and has the power of will. In this way, Silver Wolf, the principal's master, will have no advantage in front of him. Instead, he will be at a disadvantage. This is interesting. I used to think that the Heavenly Sword Marquis was asking for trouble by challenging the Silver Wolf with the Immortal Saint Realm, but now it seems like that's not the case. Yes, the difference between the Principal's Masters and the Immortal Saint Realm is that the difference in strength is huge, and then the power of will is added. Now that the two advantages have been equalized, the next competition is about their own methods, and in terms of methods, the Heavenly Sword Marquis is obviously stronger. Yes. Although Heavenly Sword Marquis is not a rule master, he is better than a Principal's Master. Many experts began to guess the outcome of the battle, and most of them were biased toward Jian Wushuang. It was very normal because the Principal's Master was competing with Jian Wushuang in terms of techniques without any advantages. Jian Wushuang's techniques were very famous. If Silver Wolf could compete with him, he would not have been afraid to show his face in front of Jian Wushuang. Damn it, I don't believe it. Silver Wolf's eyes were red like a furious beast. Divine power surged out of his body, and the power of his will swept out crazily. Boom, 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 boom. A series of monstrous explosions resounded in the void. Silver Wolf and Jian Wushuang had already engaged in a fierce battle. Both of them displayed astonishing divine power and collided with each other in the void. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang had the upper hand. Silver Wolf was also trying to figure out a way. He had also used many of his secret skills. Silver Wolf came from the Life and Death Saint Realm, one of the 3 Saint Realms, and his secret skills were also very powerful. However, Jian Wushuang's secret skills came from the ancient 7-star mysterious sect, so they could only be of a higher level than Silver Wolf's. Therefore, after dozens of exchanges, Silver Wolf was faintly suppressed by Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang stopped moving his hands and his body stopped in the void. Silver Wolf, you have already broken through to become a Principal's Master. Is that all you have? Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold as he looked down at Silver Wolf with a hint of arrogance. Chapter 3290, did he just lose? How could this be? Silver Wolf was stunned. He did not react at all after hearing Jian Wushuang's words. Jian Wushuang continued, I was looking forward to fighting with you, but you have disappointed me. If your strength is only at this level, then you will lose. As soon as Jian Wushuang finished his words, he flew out. He was not fast, so he appeared in front of the Silver Wolf and raised the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. With the long sword raised, Jian Wushuang's strength burst out to the extreme, and the power of his will was fully unleashed. At the same time, the life divine power in Jian Wushuang's body began to circulate. The innate advantage in his body was greatly stimulated at this moment. Once the life divine power was activated, it was equivalent to the power of a will. Together with the power of Jian Wushuang's own will, it was equivalent to releasing 2 wills at the same time. A surge of heaven-shaking brutal chi suddenly swept over, and a faint beast roar was heard in the world. It was the peerless sword technique Shixiang. Whoosh! The sword light slashed down ferociously, and its shocking power caused all the experts present to change their expressions. Silver Wolf suddenly raised his head, and a trace of shock appeared in his eyes. Then he raised his spear with all his strength and hurriedly blocked it. But then, clang! With a loud sound, the spear in Silver Wolf's hand was slightly changed by the terrifying power, while Jian Wushuang's sword light continued to strike Silver Wolf's divine body. Puff! Silver Wolf threw his head back and spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura was greatly weakened, and his body was sent flying in a sorry state. It took him a long time to regain his balance. After he regained his balance, his face was pale. The surrounding crowd was silent. Everyone became quiet. The whole world was silent. In this silence, there were countless shocked gazes. They were all focused on Jian Wushuang. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. He lost. A trembling voice suddenly sounded in the crowd. The next moment, the whole crowd exploded. He lost, Silver Wolf lost. A Principal's Master actually lost to the Immortal Saint? Oh my god, am I dreaming? How is this possible? I also feel that this isn't real. All the experts present could not accept this scene, even though it was the truth. One had to know that since ancient times, Principles Masters had always been high and mighty. The immortal saint could not compare to them at all. In the divine beginning realm, for a long time, no one had ever heard of anyone who could challenge a Principles Master at the level of an immortal saint. They could not even fight head-on, let alone defeat him. Because of this, many experts in the divine beginning realm had come to a conclusion that the immortal saint could not challenge the Principles Master. However, this scene was beyond their understanding. Jian, Wushuang and Silver Wolf, one was obviously the immortal saint, and the other was the real Principles Master. They fought in front of countless people, but Silver Wolf was defeated. Moreover, he was crushed by Jian Wushuang. Heavenly Sword Marquis. Light King, who was wearing a black robe, stood in the void nearby with his arms crossed. His long and narrow eyes were staring at Jian Wushuang with a strange light. The power of his sword just now doesn't seem to be weaker than mine, which could release two parts of my will at the same time. And he defeated Silver Wolf easily without using his strongest trump card. How interesting. I thought that since we have broken through to become Principles Masters, we are no longer comparable to Heavenly Sword Marquis. But now it seems that we were wrong. Even if Heavenly Sword Marquis is not a Principles Master, his strength is no weaker than ours. Saint Devil's Son also thought to himself. The immortal saint crossed ranks to challenge the Principles Master and won. This should be the first time in the history of the divine beginning realm. Heavenly Sword Marquis should also be called the #1 genius in the history of the divine beginning realm. Master Ku sighed quietly. Han Xian and Snow Saint were also secretly amazed. Silver Wolf was stronger than them before they broke through. Now that they had broken through to the Principles Master, Silver Wolf should be slightly stronger than them. But in the end, even Silver Wolf was defeated by Jian Wushuang. This caused a huge wave in their hearts. In the vast void, Jian Wushuang had already put away his Blood Mountain sword. He looked at Silver Wolf coldly and said, "The Principles Master is nothing." It was a simple sentence, but it was like a huge slap on Silver Wolf's face. Silver Wolf's face instantly turned the color of a pig's liver. His body trembled crazily, and the anger in his heart soared to the sky, but he could not flare up at all. As for those who had already broken through to become Principles Master, they frowned when they heard Jian Wushuang's words, but they did not say anything. If Jian Wushuang, an immortal saint, had dared to say that Principles Masters were nothing, he would have been laughed at by countless people. But now he had defeated a Principles Master in front of everyone. He was qualified to say these words. Silver Wolf, you should be glad that I did not break through to become a Principles Master in Blood Wave Temple. Otherwise, you would have died. Jian Wushuang looked at Silver Wolf coldly, looking down on him. After all, Silver Wolf had broken through to become a Principles Master. Although he was not as strong as Jian Wushuang, it was very difficult or impossible for Jian Wushuang to kill him. Even if he relied on his own assassination techniques, it would not work. After all, his shadowless escape technique was just at the beginning, and he had only mastered the first move of the Blood Drop Sword technique. If he was given more time, he would be able to understand more about the shadowless escape technique. If his swordsmanship improved again, he might really be able to keep Silver Wolf with his assassination skills. Jian Wushuang's words were casual, but in Silver Wolf's ears they were like knives. He gritted his teeth and took a deep look at Jian Wushuang. Without saying another word, he turned around and retreated to the edge of the void. Obviously, he knew how humiliating it was for a Principles Master to be defeated by an immortal saint in front of so many people. Now the surrounding experts looked at him as if he was a joke. Of course, he did not want to stay here any longer. Chapter 3291, Inescapable Net. Brother Heavenly Marquis. Emperor Ming Di Hao and the others were already walking toward Jian Wushuang. Brother Heavenly Marquis, you're amazing. Emperor Ming could not help but exclaim. It has never happened in the history of the divine beginning realm that an immortal saint defeated a Principles Master head-on. To put it bluntly, Brother Heavenly Marquis, you can be said to be the #1 immortal saint in the divine beginning realm since ancient times. I've never heard of an immortal saint who is stronger than you. Yes, it's incredible that the immortal saint defeated the Principles Master. No wonder you dared to challenge the Silver Wolf. It turns out that you have such great strength, Di Hao added. Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly. To him, defeating the Silver Wolf was nothing. His basic strength was not weaker than the Principles Master, and it was even slightly stronger. Once he used his life divine power, it was equivalent to having two parts of the power of will. Of course, it was much stronger than Silver Wolf, who only had one part of the power of will. If he used his strongest trump card, the heaven-cleaving skill, the burst of power was equivalent to 3 parts of the power of will. and Silver Wolf would not be able to withstand it. By the way, Brother Heavenly Marquis, why do I feel like you have two parts of the power of will when you defeated Silver Wolf in the end? Could it be that you have comprehended two principles at the same time in the Bloodwave Temple and have mastered two parts of the power of will? Underworld Emperor suddenly asked. No. Jian Wushuang shook his head. It's difficult to comprehend one principle, let alone two. The reason why I can exert two parts of the power of will is because of some special reasons. Jian Wushuang did not explain too much. Of course he would not spread the news about the Life Palace and the Life Divine Power. Underworld Emperor raised his eyebrows and did not ask any further questions. After the battle between Jian Wushuang and Silver Wolf, the surrounding experts immediately changed their opinion of Jian Wushuang. Then they began to wait for the exit of the Blood Wave realm. During this time, some people would look at Jian Wushuang from time to time, but Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to them. In a corner of the void, Silver Wolf had already joined the people from the Life and Death Saint realm, but at this moment, his face was extremely ugly. Heavenly Sword Marquis. Damn Heavenly Sword Marquis. Silver Wolf's body trembled. He had never hated Jian Wushuang before. Since ancient times, there had never been a Principles Master who was defeated by the Immortal Saint, but he was the first. He would undoubtedly become a disgrace among Principles Masters in the future. All the Principles Masters in the Divine Beginning realm would probably laugh at him. Not only in this era but even after a long time he would probably become a joke among the Principles Masters. After a long time his mood gradually calmed down. I didn't expect that although this Heavenly Sword Marquis didn't break through to become a Principles Master, his strength is actually so tyrannical. I've miscalculated. However, there will always be gains and losses. Although I was defeated by him, I've already tested out his current strength. At the very least, he'll be more prepared when the three upper echelons of the Saint Realm make a move. Silver Wolf's eyes were cold. In the next moment, he took out his token and began to transmit the message. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. The Grand Palace was filled with a faint chaotic aura. In the center of this chaotic aura, three figures slowly gathered together. Although the three figures could not be seen under the influence of the aura they emitted was abnormally powerful and ancient. Sky Nether, are you ready to destroy the Saint Realm? A long voice rang out. It was a female voice. Of course I'm ready. As soon as Heavenly Sword Marquis comes out of the Blood Wave realm, my men will immediately make a move and not give him any chance to escape, said Sky Nether Master. That's good. This time, the three Saint Realms have joined hands to set up an inescapable net in order to kill Heavenly Sword Marquis. In this inescapable net, your move to destroy the Saint Realm is the most important part. If this part fails, our plan will fail, said the last person with a hoarse voice. Don't worry. Although there are a total of 10 entrances to the Blood Wave realm, there is only one exit. It is on the Saha Island. This time I have made ample preparations to destroy the holy region. I can ensure that the ring will not fail, Sky Nether Master said. Right now, I am not worried about whether Heavenly Sword Marquis will have a chance to escape. I am worried about the Temporal Temple. This time, the three Saint Realms have gone through so much trouble to kill Heavenly Sword Marquis in the Bloodwave realm, but we haven't killed him yet. The Temporal Temple should be extremely vigilant. In addition, although the three Saint Realms have been secretly setting up this encirclement, with the Temporal Temple's intelligence techniques, we might be able to detect some clues. If the Temporal Temple is prepared, it won't be so easy for us to succeed. So what if we are on guard? Even if the Temporal Temple had guessed that the three Saint Realms would attack Heavenly Sword Marquis, they would never have thought that we would pay so much attention to him this time. They would not be able to stop us with just their current forces. By the time they realize what is going on, we would have already succeeded. The hoarse voice said. That's true. The three Saint Realms went through a lot of trouble to kill Heavenly Sword Marquis. If he managed to escape, he must be very lucky, the female voice said. Oh, there's one more thing. He just came from the Bloodwave realm. Although Heavenly Sword Marquis didn't become a Principles Master with the help of the opportunities in the Bloodwave Palace, his combat strength is above that of an ordinary Principles Master. Silver Wolf of the Life and Death Saint Realm has already broken through to become a Principles Master. However, he was defeated in a head-on fight with Heavenly Sword Marquis. He was defeated badly. If I'm not mistaken, Heavenly Sword Marquis has the combat strength of a Principles Master, and he's not weak among them, the hoarse voice said. The Immortal Saint can actually defeat the Principles Master? This Heavenly Sword Marquis is truly terrifying, but it is precisely because of this that he deserves to die. Sky Nether Master's voice was icy cold. Yes, we have already given him too many opportunities to grow. If we allow him to continue growing, I'm afraid that it won't be long before our three great saint realms are completely unable to do anything to him. Therefore this time, no matter what price we have to pay, we must kill him. Even if we have to completely lose all decorum with the temporal temple and erupt into a great battle, we will not hesitate. The hoarse voice was unusually firm. All right, the two of you. It won't be long before Heavenly Sword Marquis comes out of the Blood Wave realm. We should start moving as well. As he spoke, the three of them slowly disappeared from the palace. Chapter 3292, Surging Undercurrent, Part 1. Everything in the Blood Wave realm had calmed down. The fight for the Blood Wave token had long ended, and all the opportunities in the Blood Wave Palace had been obtained. The trip to the Blood Wave realm had come to an end. Many experts present were quietly waiting for the spatial passage to appear. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Ming Di Hao, and the others were also waiting quietly. But at this moment, Heavenly Sword Marquis. A message suddenly came. Jian Wushuang immediately took out a message token. Temple Master Bai Xing? The person who sent the message was Temple Master Bai Xing. Heavenly Sword Marquis, I heard that you defeated Silver Wolf, who had broken through to become a Principal's Master in the Blood Wave realm? Temple Master Bai Xing asked first. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Since ancient times, you are the first person to defeat a Principal's Master in the Immortal Saint realm. You are indeed impressive, Temple Master Bai Xing said. You flatter me, Temple Master, Jian Wushuang said humbly. Don't be too happy. I'm not sending you a message to compliment you. I'm telling you that the three saint realms will continue to make moves against you, Temple Master Bai Xing said. Oh. Jian Wushuang frowned. The intelligence department of the Temporal Temple has already detected the high-level experts of the three saint realms and secretly dispatched many of them. Although we haven't figured out where they are heading, everyone's attention is focused on the Blood Wave realm at this time. In addition to what the three saint realms did to you in the Blood Wave realm, even a fool can guess that they are targeting you, Temple Master Bai Xing said. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Indeed, in the Blood Wave realm, the three saint realms had risked everything to kill him, but they did not succeed. Now that he had obtained the opportunity in the Blood Wave Palace, his strength had soared. This was definitely a greater threat to the three saint realms. The three saint realms would definitely not let him continue to grow. No matter what, I am a member of the Temporal Temple. It's fine if the three saint realms attack me in the Blood Wave realm, but if they attack me in the outside world in front of the Temporal Temple, it would be a total loss of face with the Temporal Temple. It seems that the three saint realms would rather fight the Temporal Temple than kill me, Jian Wushuang thought. There are quite a number of experts from the three great saint realms. My Temporal Temple has only detected a small part of them, but even so, it is already very shocking. That is why I am sending you a message now. When you leave the Blood Wave realm, you must be careful. After all, there is only one exit to the Blood Wave realm, and that is the Saha Island. The three great saint realms will most likely set up an inescapable net there. Once you leave the Blood Wave realm, they will use lightning-fast methods to kill you. Yes. Temple Master Bai Xing's voice was cold. Of course, you are a member of the Temporal Temple, so we will do our best to protect you. When we sense the three saint realms are making a move, I will gather people as quickly as possible. I will lead them myself. When you come out of the Blood Wave realm, the experts of the Temporal Temple will come to meet you. Thank you, Temple Master. Jian Wushuang thanked him immediately. Don't thank me yet. I feel that the three saint realms will definitely do something big this time. I can't guarantee that I can protect you, so I can only do my best. You also have to be well prepared. Fortunately, you have a good life-saving ability. When the two sides really fall out, you have to remember that you have to try your best to survive. Don't worry about anything else. Temple Master Bai Xing said. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. After the communication ended, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and let out a long sigh. Brother Heavenly Marquis, what's wrong? Emperor Ming Di Hao and the others looked at each other. Temple Master Bai Xing just sent me a message saying that the three saint realms will make a move against me on Saha Island. He wants me to be ready, Jian Wushuang said seriously. Three saint realms? The expression of the underworld emperor changed. The three saint realms are really persistent. Qian Hongzi cursed in a low voice. Since they entered the Temporal Temple, they had been in conflict with the three saint realms. Later, the three saint realms joined hands to kill Jian Wushuang once, but they did not succeed. But now, The three Saint Realms wanted to attack Jian Wushuang not only in the Bloodwave Realm but also outside the Bloodwave Realm. The three Saint Realms and I have been fighting to the death for a long time. I expected the three Saint Realms to treat me like this. Jian Wushuang was not surprised. He pondered for a moment, then he took out another token. This token was given to him by Bloodwave. Master Bloodwave. Jian Wushuang sent a message directly. Jian Wushuang, why are you looking for me? Bloodwave replied quickly. Hearing Bloodwave's reply, Jian Wushuang could not help but feel happy. Bloodwave had given him this token to contact his original body when he went to the universe battlefield. Therefore, Jian Wushuang was not sure whether this token could be used to contact Bloodwave's consciousness in the Bloodwave Temple. But now it seemed that this token could be used to contact Bloodwave's token. Master Bloodwave, I want to ask, how long will it take before the exit of the Bloodwave realm appears? Jian Wushuang asked. An hour, Bloodwave replied. So fast. Jian Wushuang frowned and then asked, Master Bloodwave, is there a second exit of the Bloodwave realm? In Jian Wushuang's opinion, with his current strength, he did not need to worry about anything in the Bloodwave realm. However, if he was outside the Bloodwave realm, it would not be appropriate for him to confront the three Saint Realms directly. Therefore, if there was a second exit in the Bloodwave realm, he could leave quietly through the second exit, and all the preparations made by the three Saint Realms on the Saha Island would be in vain. However, Bloodwave replied, My Bloodwave realm has long been fixed. There can only be one exit, and the location of the exit has been fixed for a long time. If my original body was here, I could easily change the location of the exit or create more exits. However, I'm only a consciousness now and I can't change anything. Is that so? Jian Wushuang felt a little regretful. Jian Wushuang, you seem to be in some trouble? Bloodwave asked. Yes, I am. Jian Wushuang nodded. As expected, my enemies in the outside world have set up an inescapable net at the exit of the Bloodwave realm. Once I appear from the Bloodwave world, I will be immediately attacked by them. I see. Bloodwave understood and paused, then he continued, The exit of the Bloodwave realm cannot be changed, but there is still a certain connection between the exit of the Bloodwave realm. After you go out, if you are really attacked by them, I can still give you some help. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Chapter 3293, Surging Undercurrent, Part 2, Undercurrent. Don't be too happy. Don't forget that I'm just a consciousness now. The help I can give you is very limited. As for whether you can escape this crisis, it's up to you, Bloodwave said. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded. Master Bloodwave, can you do me one more favor and make the space passage out of the Bloodwave realm appear later? That's fine, but the Bloodwave realm has its own rules. Even I can't change it too much or the balance here will be completely broken. So I can give you a delay of 3 days at most, Bloodwave said. 3 days? That should be enough. Thank you, Master Bloodwave, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. Okay, Bloodwave replied and did not say anything else. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's mind was racing. 3 days may not be very useful to others, but to me, these short 3 days are enough for me to be fully prepared. In addition, these 3 days should be enough for me to master that move. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and looked at the surrounding Underworld Emperor and the others. Everyone, I need to meditate alone for a while. I hope you can protect me. Don't let anyone disturb me before the spatial passage from the Bloodwave realm appears. No problem. Dihao nodded. Brother Heavenly Marquis, don't worry about cultivating. With us here, no one will disturb you, Underworld Emperor added. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, then closed his eyes and fell into meditation. Time slowly passed in the Bloodwave realm. The spatial passage that was supposed to leave the Bloodwave realm would appear in an hour. However, because of Jian Wushuang, the appearance of the spatial passage would be delayed for 3 days. During this time, the outside world was already in turmoil. On the vast drill ground of the time-space island. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Figures appeared one after another. In a short while, more than 30 people had gathered on the drill ground. Each of them was emitting an extremely powerful aura. Each of these auras had surpassed the immortal saint and reached the level of Principles Masters. More than 30 Principles Masters had gathered in a short time. At this moment, whoosh, whoosh, 2 more figures appeared. They were Temple Master Bai Xing and Ba Tsang, who had brought Jian Wushuang to the Temporal Temple. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Is everyone here? Temple Master Bai Xing looked around coldly. Time is too short. Most of the experts of our temporal temple are roaming in the universe battlefield or other places. We can't gather too many of them in such a short time. Most of them just happen to stay on the island. Other than the experts who have to show mercy on the island, most of the principal's masters who can be mobilized are here. Some of them are not on the Space Tome Island, but they went to the Saha Island as soon as they received the order, Batsang said coldly. Temple Master Bai Xing's eyes flickered when he heard this. The Temporal Temple was one of the three freedom alliances in the Divine Beginning realm. It had always been mysterious and unpredictable. However, although the Temporal Temple had a deep foundation and powerful means, there were not many true experts. When Jian Wushuang had left his divine seat, he had already learned that the current Temporal Temple had only a small number of experts. There were only about 1,000 of them alive, many of whom were immortal saints, and only a small number were principal's masters. Moreover, because no one dared to provoke the Temporal Temple and there were few conflicts with other forces, let alone wars, most of the experts of the Temporal Temple were wandering outside. Very few of them actually stayed on the Temporal Island. If given some time, the Temporal Temple could naturally summon even more experts, and even invite many experts who did not belong to the Temporal Temple to come and help. But unfortunately, this incident had happened too suddenly. The Temporal Temple had just discovered the movements of the three saint-level experts. Thus, in such a short period of time, they did not summon many experts. The three great saint realms are spending a lot of money this time. With just the experts we have gathered now, I'm afraid it won't be enough to deal with them, Temple Master Bai Xing said. That's right. However, the good news is that our Temporal Temple is led by Master Lin Guang. The 10-man team that has been adventuring in the universe battlefield has arrived at the edge of the Divine Beginning realm. I've already sent a message to him that they will arrive at the Saha Island as soon as possible. Among Master Lin Guang's 10-man team, besides Master Lin Guang, whose combat power is no less than mine, there are 3 other top-notch principal's masters. Once this 10-man team arrives, our combat power will soar. Batsang said. Master Lin Guang's team? I hope they can make it in time. Palace Master Bai Xing nodded to himself. Other than that, the 4 who have been staying in the Quiet Moon Abyss have already left. Batsang added. Oh. Palace Master Bai Xing's eyes immediately lit up. Although those 4 old fellows are members of our Temporal Temple, no one can move them apart from the Palace Master. Even when I asked them to act, they weren't willing to pay any attention to me. They're actually willing to act this time? I don't know. Perhaps because their opponents are the 3 great saint-level experts, the 4 of them have already moved out, Batsang said. Since these 4 old fellows have already acted, then even if we are a bit lacking in manpower, we aren't afraid of those 3 great saint-level experts. Temple Master Bai Xing laughed coldly, then waved his hand. Follow me and set off. Our target is the Whirling Island. With Palace Master Bai Xing's order, the more than 30 principals masters of the Temporal Temple set off toward the Saha Island at their fastest speed. This was the 3rd heaven, which was located at the core of the Divine Beginning realm. In this 3rd heaven, there were many top forces and sects standing. Other than the 3 great saint realms, there were also the 4 great divine races and the 8 directions heavenly sect. Any of the forces had extremely powerful foundations. At this moment, within one of the 4 great divine clans, the Nine-Tailed clan, there were nearly 10 human figures floating in the air. So, a peerlessly beautiful human figure suddenly rushed out from a towering mountain below and appeared in front of these human figures. Third sister, have you seen Mother? A charming young lady dressed in a white robe asked. No. The beautiful figure that rushed out from the mountain was a red-robed, enchanting woman. Her every move was enough to make people's hearts tremble. She was definitely a natural beauty. Lord Mother is still in closed-door cultivation. She doesn't want to see us. How can that be? Sixth sister is dead and has been killed. Lord Mother is still not willing to come out of closed-door cultivation? The charming white-robed girl said angrily. Perhaps Lord Mother's seclusion this time is no small matter. However, it doesn't matter. If Lord Mother doesn't come out of seclusion, we will be the ones to take revenge for sixth sister. The same. The red-robed woman's gaze was extremely cold. Chapter 3294, Leaving the Blood Wave Realm, Mother is in closed-door cultivation. Among us sisters, eldest sister, second sister, and fourth sister have been adventuring in the universe battlefield all year round. Now, in the Divine Beginning realm, only the 2 of us can avenge sixth sister, said the charming white-robed girl. Let's go. Well, go to the Saha Island and skin Heavenly Sword Marquis alive. The charming red-robed girl's killing intent soared to the sky. Soon, led by the red-robed woman and the white-robed charming girl, the experts of the Nine-Tailed clan headed directly to the Saha Island. The Blood Wave realm was still calm. At this moment, it was already the fourth day since Jian Wushuang and the others came out of the Bloodwave Palace. Normally, the spatial passage would appear shortly after Jian Wushuang and the others came out of the Bloodwave Palace. But this time it was obviously delayed. However, after 3 days the spatial passage still appeared. Buzz buzz buzz. A large amount of strange power gathered in the void, and a huge spatial passage appeared in the eyes of all the experts present. It's time to leave. Let's go, let's go. Countless experts gathered near the Bloodwave Palace stood up and rushed toward the spatial passage. Brother Heavenly Marquis. Underworld Emperor also woke Jian Wushuang up. Has the exit passage appeared? Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked at the huge spatial passage in front of him. Fortunately, this spatial passage was delayed for 3 days. During these 3 days not only did I have enough time, but I also successfully mastered that move. With my current strength and many trump cards, even if the 3 Saint Realms want to kill me, it won't be easy. Moreover, the Temporal Temple will be on my side. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a bright light. 3 Saint Realms, as expected, this should be the last time you can attack me. If you succeed, that's fine. But if you fail and let me escape, it won't be long before the end of the 3 Saint Realms. Come. Come. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and stepped into the space passage with Emperor Ming Di Hao and the others. This was a vast sea with no name. In the center of the sea there was an unremarkable island. But this island had become the center of attention in the Divine Beginning realm. This small island was the Saha Island. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. There was only one exit from the Bloodwave realm, and it led to the Saha Island. At this moment, many experts had gathered on the Saha Island. Most of these experts came from various forces and sects in the Divine Beginning realm. They were all waiting for the young experts from their own sects. They walked out of the Bloodwave realm. Along the way these experts were chatting casually. The content of their conversation was about the things that happened in the Bloodwave realm. This year's competition in the Bloodwave realm is even more intense than the previous ones. Right. This time, many experts died in the competition in the Bloodwave realm. I heard that even the proud child of heaven from the Nine-Tailed clan died there. The 3 Great Saint Realms are even more miserable. The 3 Great Saint Realms should have fallen at the hands of that little fellow called Heavenly Sword Marquis. I have to say that little fellow is really powerful. He was able to cause such heavy losses to the 3 Great Saint Realms alone. Furthermore, he was able to defeat the Principal's Master with his immortal Saint Realm Cultivation. This is unprecedented. Heavenly Sword Marquis is indeed very powerful. However, with the style of the 3 Great Saint Realms, they will definitely not let this matter rest. Look around, have you noticed that not a single expert from the 3 Great Saint Realms has appeared on the Saha Island? It's true. Not only the 3 Great Saint Realms but also the experts from the Temporal Temple. No one has come to the Saha Island yet. What are they trying to do? Who knows? It has nothing to do with us anyway. We'll just watch. Most of the experts on the Saha Island could see that something was wrong. After all, the forces of the Divine Beginning realm had sent experts to this Saha Island to receive their subordinates. However, the Temporal Temple and the 3 Great Saint Realms did not even send a single expert. Of course something was wrong. Time passed. Finally, a huge spatial passage appeared in the sky above the central region of Saha Island. This spatial tunnel seemed to be connected to 2 different dimensions. The moment it appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of all the experts present. Are they all about to come out? Many experts on the Saha Island raised their heads at the same time and looked at this spatial tunnel. Soon, people began to pass through this spatial tunnel one after another. These people were naturally the immortal saints who were adventuring in the Bloodwave realm. After they came out of the spatial tunnel, they immediately found the experts from their sects and hurried over to meet up. The Light King, the Saint Devil's Son, and Master Ku, who had already broken through to become Principal's Masters, also walked out of the spatial tunnel one by one. So, the Saint Devil's Son and the immortal saints of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance directly came to the front of a black-clothed skinny elder. This black-clothed skinny elder was a high-level expert of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. How does it feel to break through to become a Principal's Master? The black-clothed skinny elder smiled and glanced at the Saint Devil's Son. Not bad. The Saint Devil's Son smiled. Unfortunately, the competition within the Bloodwave realm is too crazy. It wasn't easy for me to obtain a Bloodwave token for myself, but I wasn't able to obtain a second one. Therefore, I was the only one who broke through to become a Principal's Master among the people from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance who entered the Bloodwave realm. It's already not bad to be able to obtain one. The black-robed old man smiled. Let's go, well, leave this place first. Why are you in such a hurry? The Saint Devil's son was puzzled. It's not that we're in a hurry. Something big will happen here soon. If we stay, we'll inevitably get involved. So we should leave this place first. At the very least, we should leave Saha Island first. The black-robed elder said. The Saint Devil's son's pupils constricted. He looked around and realized that it was not just the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. The other forces and sects had also left Saha Island as soon as they received their experts from the Blood Wave realm. Saint Devil's son's heart moved, but he had already reacted. Without hesitation, Saint Devil's son and the others also left the island. There were still people coming out from the huge space passage. At this moment, several figures stepped out from the space passage. Among these people, there were 3 people in the lead, and the one standing in the middle was Jian Wushuang, who carried a long sword on his back and had a cold face. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.